Jackson Hewitt? Find out before it's too late. Hurry into Jackson Hewitt today. I'm Matt Bear with Traffic on the Fives. Follow us at WIBC Traffic.
Hi, friends. This is Patty Spitler with Pet Pals TV. You know, I'm very comfortable in front of the camera, but the telephone can intimidate me. Because of my hearing loss, I can't hear well on a regular telephone. Now with my cap telephone, I'm making contacts in a busy world. My caption telephone through Relay Indiana allows me to read what the other person is saying. Go to RelayIndiana.com to learn more about CapTel, the caption telephone. Read what you're hearing.
The forecast from the American Standard Heating Weather Center.
Decreasing clouds, but much cooler today. We'll finish with a high of 48. Mainly clear, quiet, colder. Areas of frost overnight. A low of 32. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Marcus Bailey for 93 WIBC.
36 and cloudy on Monument Circle. I'm Kirk Darling on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
You're listening to Rob Kendall.
When we talk about sending money somewhere, we're talking about printing the money because we have no money.
And Casey Daniels.
My government would never lie to me, would they?
On 93 WIBC.
Good morning. It is Wednesday, March 27th. It is 6 minutes after 9. You're listening to Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC. So, last night, were you glued to your television as 4 of the Republican candidates for Indiana's governor took the stage answering questions? It was the first televised debate of the election year, highlighting various topics, many seemingly important, some not so important, but the big miss of the entire night was the lack of addressing the biggest question on Hoosiers' minds.
This is unbelievable to me, Casey. By the way, that thing was exactly as predicted. It was a total snooze fest. It was laborious. It was boring. And even though Mike Braun at one point handed a giant billy club to every other candidate on stage and said, "Here's my head, please bash it in," they refused to do it. It is amazing how afraid, even when he handed them, Casey.
Yeah.
He handed them the ultimate freebie in which he not only admitted, yes, indeed, I did vote for the largest tax increase in the history of the state. He said he thought it was a great idea. He said he thought the roads were very nice in the state, and he appeared to have no idea that the tax goes up every single year.
Yeah. So it was also interesting that they really did not address property tax. At one point during the gas tax conversation, one of them tried to redirect into the taxes that they wanted to talk about. But from the moderator standpoint, which I thought they did a relatively decent job, except for this issue, they did not ask the big question.
It's the number one issue. In the Republicans have admitted in their the Senate Republicans have admitted in their Senate surveys that it is overwhelmingly the number one issue. And we have now had 2 debates, and no one has looked at any of these chuckleheads and said, "What are you going to do about it?" Like this, it's just it's total malfeasance on the part, first of all, of the moderators. Now in 2 debates that nobody's mentioned it, and it shows how utterly clueless these people are, because how would you not grab the mantle? It is right there, and no one is taking it. And do we have the audio of Braun?
We do. We have the audio of all of them. This is a 5-minute segment where they asked each one of the candidates if they would decrease the gas tax.
Okay, Kev, so we're going to play some of this, and periodically I'm going to probably have you stop this, so don't obviously go all the way back to the beginning. Just pause it, and then we'll comment on it. This was unbelievable, Casey, that he handed them. He was like, "Here, please bash me into the ground like a cartoon character," and nobody seemed to want to do it.
All right, here's Mike Braun.
Yeah, let's turn to the economy right now. Many Hoosiers struggling these days to pay for basic needs like groceries and gasoline. This month, our state's gas tax will climb for a 3rd straight month. Would you support a decrease in our state's gas tax to give Hoosiers some immediate relief? Mr. Braun, this first question is for you. Would you support lowering the state's gas tax if elected governor?
So when it comes to the gas tax, income tax, property tax is really what I hear the most about. We dealt with that when I was in the state legislature. And when a gas tax or a diesel tax would be used for roads and bridges, it wasn't before. We're the crossroads of America, and it costs to keep it
Pause. First of all, you notice what he did there. He lied by default in the sense of he wants you to believe all we did was move money. Because remember, his answer was, well, the money wasn't going to that before. So you could have not raised the tax and just made the money go for that. He's also lying about that because not all the money is going to the Brit. This guy's ability to look society in the eye and lie to them is unbelievable, Casey. So I just wanted to stop everybody on that. And his justification for doing this, now we'll play the rest of his answer, but his justification for doing this was, well, it also moved the money. Well, Mike, why didn't you just vote to move the money to the right thing? Why did you have to raise taxes in the process?
Because he wants more money.
Exactly. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, let's turn to the economy.
Keep it like that. If we lose that comparative advantage, you're going to be in trouble. So community crossings, which generates cost sharing between state and communities across the state, local and county governments. They complained about it at first. Now they love it. If we want to keep what we're known best.
This is going to be a theme in our diversity debate coming up at 11 o'clock. They. Us versus them. You notice what he's concerned about. Mike Braun doesn't give a damn about you or your pocketbook. He's concerned about how the governments, the local governments, viewed this tax increase. And this is going to be a theme at 11 o'clock.
He wants to be liked.
Right, exactly. How these politicians and everything you heard last night was about putting the government or the government programs ahead of you. There was almost no conversation from any of these four people about how to make life more affordable for you. It was all about, well, how do we tinker with this government program? How do we make it a little better? There were almost no cuts, an hour, four people, almost no cuts being proposed. And I just thought that was a fascinating insight into his thing was not, hey, I kind of screwed you and I feel bad about that. Well, the government really likes it.
They did it.
Go ahead, Gav.
As for if we want to get economic development into this state, you got to make sure your infrastructure is in good shape. When it comes to that, and that happened years ago in the state legislature, that's why we've got roads and bridges in good shape. And almost 48 out of 50 stakeholders said they were for it when that occurred. I'll listen again.
So to follow up here.
So he is for it. He stands behind it. He would do it again. And he thinks look, I know he lives in Washington now most of the time.
Right. I would like for him to commute down Washington Street on his way in to work.
It shows you how totally uncreative and visionless he is, that in his world, despite that budget he passed, let's remind everybody, that budget he passed in 2017 was, I believe, a $32 billion budget. In Mike Braun's world, despite approving a $32 billion budget, the only way to have funded the roads was to raise your taxes.
Right, to get more money.
So why would you believe anything going forward with him as governor that will not be his default position on anything else?
Did you get the impression that he doesn't realize that the gas tax increases?
Yeah, I did. And I think I don't know if that's the clip or I think there's something later in this where it appears that he had like no concept that the gas tax goes up every single year.
It's going up in 4 days.
Right. He has, again, it is amazing to me. And I know we're going to play some of these responses here. It is amazing to me how the hell this guy is the front runner. He is a horrible debater. He has an abysmal record as a state legislator. His U.S. Senate legislative record is wishy-washy at best. What planet are people living on where they think this guy is going to do anything other than raise taxes and grow government?
Was that the end of the clip, Kevin? No? Okay, let's finish it out. Mike Braun.
You're referencing your vote in 2017 in the State House. You voted to support that 10-cent a gallon increase signed into law by the governor. Would you vote the same way on that today? 30 seconds.
I would. I don't think we need a tax increase on gas. I think in general, the thing we probably ought to be looking at is how do we keep property taxes from getting out of control? And there are other ways to get revenues by making government work more efficiently, including looking at our Department of Transportation to see if they're doing their job correctly, maybe get some savings there to spend more on roads and bridges.
Okay, Casey, you're going to have to help me here because I'm about to do the thing. You know how I get. So yes, right there. He clearly has no idea that the gas tax keeps going up because he just said we don't need
another increase, although it's happening in 4 days.
It goes up every year automatically, and then obviously it'll go up based on the price of gas too. So he clearly has no idea what he voted on.
Maybe he's saying we don't need another increase besides the one they already voted for, like an additional one. But
there already isn't. Every single year it goes up.
Yeah.
This guy has no concept of what he's doing. He didn't know in the General Assembly. He doesn't know now. And yet this guy is the guy that's going to run the state. He thinks the roads are fine. He thinks we got good value. Oh, and I love the fact, because this was the conversation in 2017 with the people who are opposing the gas tax. You have INDOT, who is a highly inefficient, ineffective government agency. Why don't you guys reform INDOT first, find as many savings as you can, report back on those, then we'll talk about a gas tax increase. And every time, oh, no. There's no savings to be found there. Those guys are doing a great job. Right there, he just said it. 7 years later, oh, maybe we need to find some efficiencies at INDOT. Look, you can vote however you want to vote. You can pick whoever you want to pick. That guy is not a conservative. That guy is clueless about what's going on. And if you elect that guy governor, your taxes will go up and government will grow. I already knew it before these debates, but I have now seen it in back-to-back debates that he has no vision for how to lead the state of Indiana. None.
He did mention that property taxes were getting out of control. They already are out of control. I mean, when you consider that in Marion County, valuations alone went up on average 20% year over year.
Okay, let's take a break, because then this is amazing. Like, again, I will use this phrase. If I had been on the stage with Mike Braun, I would now have a photo in every post office in this country wanted for mass political homicide, political career homicide, because that guy should have just, I mean, it should have been like everybody just team up on him and start turning into Mike Tyson and Mike Tyson's Punch Out. And you're Glass Jaw Joe, or he's Glass Jaw Joe, or whatever that character's name was. And yet, he handed it to him. He has no idea what he voted on. He has no idea the impact. He thinks the roads are fine. And yet, then they just all let him go.
All right, we're going to hear the other candidates' responses coming up from 93 WIBC.
Tony Katz.
I also did say that men are not women and women are not men, and men do not breastfeed and never will, because those are facts. And anybody who says otherwise, that person shouldn't be allowed to practice medicine. They're crazy. I will have that debate with anyone at any med school anywhere. Let's start setting a standard that we focus on medicine and not insanity.
Tony Katz, mornings 6 to 9 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Jefferson Shreve stepped up to fight when no one else would. He put it all on the line. And the liberals smeared him for it with ads like this.
Donald Trump and Jefferson Shreve. He's an original supporter of Donald Trump.
They attacked Shreve for being a conservative.
Jefferson Shreve, an A rating from the NRA.
Attacked him for being a loyal Republican.
Look who was there, Jefferson Shreve. He was proud to be on the Trump campaign and proud of his own A rating from the NRA.
All because Shreve would get tough, back the blue, and stop the crime. But we don't have to accept their lawlessness at our border, in our suburbs, in our state. Because Jefferson Shreve is running for Congress, and he's a fighter for law, order, and a secure border. Jefferson Shreve for Congress.
I'm Jefferson Shreve, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Shreve for Congress.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are high interest payments becoming too much to bear? Luckily, there's a way for consumers struggling with over $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans to significantly reduce the amount they owe if they qualify. Qualifying for this debt relief program, which the credit card companies prefer to keep secret, will only require you to pay back a fraction of what you owe with one affordable monthly payment. You don't have to file bankruptcy or need a debt consolidation loan. Consumers can now take advantage of this financial debt relief during the current economic downturn and rising inflation. If you owe $10,000 or even $500,000 in credit card debt or personal loans, call the Debt Relief Advocates Helpline now for this free information and to see if you qualify. Call 800-515-1865. 800-515-1865. Again, that's 800-515-1865.
Are you over 30 and putting off life insurance? It's time to get a quick quote from Ethos. A better, easier way to get term life insurance. All online with no medical exam. Answer a few health questions and you could be approved for up to $2 million. Isn't it worth 10 minutes to help protect your family's financial security? Ethos. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com.
Inside Indiana Business Radio, the news you need to get ahead. Indiana's business news leader, weekdays at 6:32 a.m. and 5:56 p.m. on WIBC.
Indy's leader in patio installation is now offering a new driveway package. Schedule a free estimate today at indydecorativeconcrete.com. That's indydecorativeconcrete.com.
There's a real debate happening in the studio that we have to discuss. It is 20 minutes after 9. It's Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC. So I'm walking down the hall before we get on the air today, and our boss, Dion, he says, all right, we're going to settle the great debate. And I was like, I think we're doing that at 11 o'clock today. Right. And he says, no, the donut debate.
Oh.
So it's Tim's, Rise and Roll, and then Longs.
So he brought in, Dion is the big boss, and so whenever he says jump, we say how high.
Yep.
He brought in 3 just kind of broke off parts
Bite-size.
Of donuts. Yeah, right. And he said, all right, there's 3 on this plate. You got a plate. Kev got a plate.
Yep.
And then I was able to pick them out
just by visually.
Yeah, the Rise and Roll, the Tims and the Longs are pretty close, but I've had enough Longs over the years that I chose one. I knew that was Longs. The Rise and Roll, it's the texture, you can tell.
Yeah.
And then the Tims is third. However,
I didn't know.
Not knowing.
I knew which one was Rise and Roll, and I told Dion in the hallway, that's going to be my favorite. That's the popular favorite of anybody from northern Indiana. And I said, Longs is typically the favorite here in Indianapolis. And he said, no, you're discounting Tim's. And I said, well, I've never had Tim's, so I'm unfamiliar. So we brought in these 3 bite size, and obviously we were all able to determine which one was Rise and Roll because it's got the powdery cinnamon sugar on top. But I took a bite of all 3, not knowing which was Longs and which was Tim's.
And you chose Tim's.
I chose Tim's.
You did?
Even over Rise and Roll, which has been a favorite of mine for years.
Yeah, I was so now you got to live with that going forward.
Well, now I got to go there and buy some. Buy some more.
And congratulations, Casey. In lieu of a pay increase, you got chunks of donuts this year. So congratulations.
I got a bite of a donut. Thank you, Dion. Well, I think it's really interesting because I was kind of adamant. I was like, oh, no. It's going to be Rise and Roll.
Yeah.
Like, don't even. And sure enough, my palate said differently.
Now, for those of you on the YouTube, many of you have commented, yes, I am dressed up today. If you would like to see me, the one time probably this year I'll not be wearing sweatshirt and blue jeans, you can search Kendall and Casey on the YouTube. Casey will confirm I do have, it's not a suit, but it's a sports coat, slacks, a tie, and a dress shirt.
You look very nice, very professional.
And I have told people for multiple days now, I am not bullcrapping with the diversity debate coming up at 11 a.m.
You clean up well.
I have come to teach these people, and last night was another reminder how all of these people need taught on how to debate, because what a boring stink fest that debate was once again last night.
Okay, so the big question, 6 candidates are running for Indiana's Republican primary, but only 4 qualified for the televised debate last night. And one of the questions after it took 23 minutes before they got into the one of the top concerns among voters.
Can we just say, I don't know if we have the clip of it, we probably don't. They come out of the gate. And I like Dan Spieler, he's a nice guy, I've known him for a long time. But you're going to come rip-roaring out of the gate with, which governor are you more like? Mike Pence or Mitch Daniels? Come on, Dan.
Yeah.
Dan's a good guy, he's a professional, but come on. And then, and this is a fair question, they must have been listening to our show because they asked the question.
They totally asked.
Which I've never heard that anywhere other than our show.
The same question that you asked Suzanne Crouch when she was here in the studio. What grade letter would you give Eric Holcomb? And she changed her answer from when she was here.
Didn't she?
She modified.
So Sue, Silent Sue, which, by the way, there were moments throughout this campaign where I thought, man, I really want to like her. Last night reminded me of why I could never vote for her. Because you're right, she changed the answer, and she changed it because she got flack, I guarantee you, for the answer that she gave in here, because how could you possibly have changed the answer? And she's hemming and hawing. Chambers, of course, gives him an A, which, okay, not that anybody's surprised by that, but you make your own choice about that. Braun gives him a B-. And then the worst one of all,
Doden.
even old flip-flopping silent Suzanne, even worse than her, Doden refuses to answer the question. Here is the question I have. Why is Eric Doden running? He didn't answer it seemed like a single question last night. The answers he gave were non-committal. They were wishy-washy. In this case, why would you refuse to answer what sort of job you think Eric Holcomb has done running the state? Why are you running? Why have you wasted millions of dollars of your family money? It's the same question I asked about Jefferson Shreve.
I thought it was interesting a few times when they would ask a question and he seemed to answer, and then the moderator would say, well, wait, are you for that? And he would say, we're going to do it to the full extent of the law. It's like he didn't want to say the words himself.
I was watching this last night, so I had to pause it in the middle because I did a segment on Tony Kennett's show last night on old Matlock Whitley going down in flames against Abdul.
Yeah.
And so I had my dad pause it, came back, started watching it again. I thought, okay, I'm going to come back, and they just hit all this stuff later on in the show. On the debate, there's nothing. It's like the only remotely interesting thing to me was Braun admitting that he voted for the largest tax increase in the history of the state, and that he would do it again. And he appears to have no idea of what he actually voted for. All right, so I didn't mean to derail that, but we have last segment we played the clip of Braun admitting he voted for the gas tax, admitting he'd do it again, clearly having no idea the gas tax goes up every single year, which he voted for. And then they handed over. Spieler and those guys did a nice job. I'm sure in Dan's mind, it's like, hey, I've tossed you the softball, everyone. This guy just admitted he did the thing. And give Spieler credit. He asked the question. It took 23 minutes, but he asked the question. Finally, someone asked the question. Braun gives an answer that is every bit as stupid as I thought it was going to be. And it's like nobody wanted to acknowledge how he just opened the door for him.
Yep. Nope. Instead, they wanted to focus on their ideas.
Do we have some of this audio?
We do. Here is the question. Would you be in favor of a decrease in the gas tax? And here is Suzanne Crouch.
Ms. Crouch, 60 seconds to you on lowering the gas taxes. Is this a move that you would support?
As a state representative, I voted for the largest property tax cut in our state's history. Also voted to reduce the corporate...
Pause. Okay, this is bullcrap. This is bullcrap, because what happened was a flood of people in 2008 stormed the State House. Now, they didn't call it an insurrection back then, over property taxes despite years of warning, and people like Suzanne Crouch ignoring that warning, stormed the State House and demanded property taxes be redone, and it was an election year. That's the only reason this woman or any of the rest of those clowns there moved at the time. And it only is still in existence because the voters mandated it be put into the Constitution, and then Suzanne Crouch spent the next half decade doing nothing as school districts and other taxing entities did everything in their power to subvert the very clear will of the voter. Sorry, I was not letting that made me so mad last night when she said that. Go ahead.
Income tax, voted to eliminate the estate tax. And I am certainly open to eliminating or lowering any tax here in Indiana. But as governor, I will lead the fight to eliminate the state income tax. We're going to axe the tax, put thousands of dollars back into hardworking men and women's pockets every year. Now, my opponents will say we can't do it, and it's a gimmick. What they're really saying is government needs more of your money and you need less. And so we can do it. It has to be phased in. It can't happen overnight. We have to have triggers in place to protect against economic downturns. But as former vice chair of the House Ways and Means Committee, former auditor of state, we can do it. If we limit government growth, if we end wasteful government spending, and if we find efficiencies in government.
Stop, because we got to get to the news. But I just want to say, multiple times throughout that debate last night, when she would speak, I would ponder what is more painful, listening to her voice give the full answer or taking a tire iron and caving my skull in.
All right, we've got more from the debate last night coming up on 93 WIBC.
Garage Doors of Indianapolis is everything that's right about Central Indiana. They've been locally family-owned for 50 years, helping our local economy remain strong by employing 70 families. Garage Doors of Indianapolis is proud to do business right here in the great state of Indiana. They're a conservative-minded company that shares our values and stands by their products and services. You can call Garage Doors of Indianapolis today for service today. 875-4577, 875-4577, or visit doorstoday.com.
Indy's biggest party is back. Miller Lite Carb Day, Friday, May 24, featuring George Thorogood and the Destroyers. With special guests, Gin Blossoms. Miller Lite Carb Day, May 24th at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Concert, pit, and VIP tickets on sale now at IMS.com.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Now search and recovery. It's cloudy and 37 downtown. I'm Kurt Darling. Here's what's trending at 9:30. The search starting back up this morning for 6 people presumed dead after a cargo ship hit a bridge in Baltimore, causing it to collapse.
I can't imagine how painful today has been for these families, how painful these hours have been for these families.
Maryland Governor Wes Moore on Tuesday when the search was suspended due to darkness and treacherous currents in the busy harbor. Experts also saying that maritime traffic through the port is being suspended until further notice. It's not Aaron Rodgers who will be running with RFK Jr.
RFK Jr. announced Nicole Shanahan as his running mate at a campaign event in her hometown of Oakland, California. Shanahan is still a registered Democrat, but says they are running as independents because the Democratic Party has lost its way.
Fox's Brooke Singman. Someone is $1.12 billion richer this morning as a Mega Millions ticket was sold in New Jersey that matches all the numbers in last night's drawing. Someone here in Indiana bought a $1 million winning ticket. Your opening bell report on 93 WIBC brought to you by Absolute Wealth Management, LLC. Big increases at the opening bell. The Dow was up 171 to 39,851. The NASDAQ up 108 to 18,557. And the S&P 500 is up 26 to 5,291. I'm Kurt Darling on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. We've helped over 30,000 families out of financial hardship by getting them out of bad timeshares. If your timeshare agreement goes on forever, if you were told timeshares are a great investment, or your maintenance fees will never go up, you have questions, we have the answers. At Wesley Financial Group, we're dedicated to helping timeshare owners get out of their financial nightmare. All you need to do is give my office a call. I will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free, explaining how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation.
Call now for your free timeshare exit information kit. Call 800-761-0000. That's 800-761-0000. 800-761-0000.
UniversalWindowsDirect.com. UniversalWindowsDirect.com. Boy, does Universal Windows Direct have a great deal going on for you right now. Hello, boys and girls. It is Rob for my friends at Universal Windows Direct. And get this. Right now, if you call 317-659-7574, 317-659-7574, and schedule a free in-home estimate right now. No obligation, totally free. They give you an estimate. As soon as you do that, you're eligible to buy 2 windows and get 2 free. Buy 2, get 2 free. No limit on how many that applies for. So buy 4, get 4. Buy 20, get 20. No limit. Plus, when you call 317-659-7574, schedule that free in-home estimate. You tell them Rob Kendall from WIBC told me to call. They're going to take $250 off your project. You can see all the amazing products Universal Windows Direct has to offer at universalwindowsdirect.com or give them a call, 317-659-7574. Tell them Rob sent you.
Everyone knows that soaking in Epsom salts can make you feel better. Now imagine soaking in Epsom salts in a Royal Spa hot tub.
Ah, Royal Spa.
You're listening to the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC.
Okay, so we continue on with the debate from last night, the first televised debate of the 4 candidates who are running for governor, although there are 6 candidates that are actually on the Republican side.
Yeah, how did nobody bring that up last night? I guess Silent Suzanne lost her.
The moderators did. I don't know if you noticed it, but at the very beginning, they were like, these are the candidates that met the polling threshold and the fundraising threshold set forth by... Nexstar Media.
Yeah, they conveniently didn't say, yeah, we kicked the black people off the stage. And Silent Suzanne, who was very tough previously on social media, didn't say anything during the debate either. Look, there's a reason people think the perception of the Republican Party is the party of old white people. Who was on stage? I don't know what Doden is. He's got to be in his 50s, and he was by far the youngest person up there. I mean, Chambers look up there looking like a Bond villain. You got Mike Braun, who can't even be bothered to wear a jacket, and the Suzanne Crouch stuff, yikes. But here was my question to you. If you were not required to do it for your job, like if you didn't work here, would you have watched that debate?
No, I would not. And I was especially thinking about if I were even 10 years younger, because that's really the demographic that they want. And I was thinking, where would I have been in my life? And it was Tuesday night. No, I would have been wondering, is it trash night? Have I taken the trash out? Is my daughter's lunch packed? Is her uniform washed because she's got practice tomorrow? Is the homework done? Have I scheduled the orthodontist appointment? Are we going out to Pat's Pub this weekend? What are my husband's needs for the night? That sort of stuff. So unless there was a real reason to get me there, I probably would not have been. It would not have been on my radar as heavily.
Okay,
let's just say it like that.
Let's just say it had been on you're an invested American, and I must find out who.
Right. Who's going to represent best?
Would you have made it past 10 minutes? Like, would you have watched past 10 minutes after the opening display of which candidate are you, which governor are you more like? What was that? What grade would you give Holcomb? I mean, one guy's not even answering the question. Was there anything about that debate that captivated you like, oh my gosh, I've got to know more?
Well, I think I probably would have been interested, about how they graded Holcomb just based on everything that happened during COVID.
Yeah. And not one of them gave him a bad grade.
Right.
Braun was probably the worst, and that was a B-, although Suzanne was an A and then a C.
A C because of the COVID stuff.
And Doden did his best Daniel Simpson day, 0.0. I'm not even going to answer the question. I mean, what a wimp. If you're Doden's family, don't you have to watch that last night and be like, we gave you all this money for this? And we told you that was going to happen yesterday. Remember we told you? Because he was on the show, and he didn't want any part of talking about that gas tax. Like, we tried to pin him down and said, hey, dude, there's a freebie. He's going to toss the ball up for you. Why don't you knock it up? Well, I don't know. Why is Doden running? What reason is he running for? You're on a statewide televised debate stage. You're standing next to the guy who is the clear front runner. He hands you a freebie where he admits he voted for the largest tax increase in the history of the state. He'd do it again. He doesn't even know that the tax goes up every single year. There's a million different ways you could have gone with that, and you just got like, what the hell was going on?
All right, well, do you want to hear from Brad Chambers or Eric Doden next?
Okay, so this is in response to what we just talked about, the Braun answer on the gas tax, and then everybody else was allowed to respond, and how no one seemed to have a firing synapse in their brain to recognize the freebie that Braun had just handed them.
I think Brad Chambers was the one who came out the strongest against Braun.
All right, well, why don't we hear Chambers first then?
All right, here we go. Here's Brad Chambers' response to decreasing the gas tax.
Mr. Chambers, 60 seconds to you. Would you support cutting the state's gas tax?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the 2017 gas tax increase that Senator Braun supported. That would have been the largest tax increase in state history. But this is about the total.
What?
Mr. Chambers, 60 seconds to you. Would you support cutting the state's gas tax?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the 2017 gas tax increase that Senator Braun supported. That would have been the largest tax increase in state history.
Thank you.
But this is about the total palette of taxes. It's about income tax, property tax, gas tax, sales tax. Indiana is pretty competitive. We can always work to get that down over time without pulling the resources away from education and supporting our police and addressing mental health and healthcare. We have to look at the entire package of taxation in a package, not just one individual tax here and there. We do need to. We were number one in the country for infrastructure in 2022. We need to continue to make progress on infrastructure, and so we'd have to evaluate that in context of all other taxation. At the end of the day, we're number 9 in the country. Would like to get that down even further, but not at the expense of public safety or education as well.
Don't you? Okay, so once again, he shows how clueless he is. I thought all the gas tax went to the roads. So how would that affect public
Education.
safety and education?
Yeah.
They're admitting to you all the money from the gas tax does not go to the roads. It's part of the scam of all this. But that aside, there's a hilarious line in the movie Ghostbusters at the end. Have you seen the movie Ghostbusters?
Sure.
Where they're fighting Gozer the Gozerian on the top of the building, and she looks at them and goes, "Are you a god?" And Dan Aykroyd goes, "Well, no." And then she goes, "Well, then die." And they shoot him back to the back of the building, and I think it's Bill Murray looks at Dan Aykroyd and goes, "Ray, if someone asks you if you are a god, you say yes." Now, you, of course, really shouldn't actually do that. But the point is, if someone is going to hand you a freebie on them voting on a massive tax increase, which he acknowledged, thank you, somebody using our language, the largest tax increase in the history of the state.
Yeah.
Stay on that. Don't get off of it, because that was the opportunity for everybody to leave, who was left watching that debate, to leave going, Mike Braun is a big taxer and a big spender. And he got off on some meandering heaving chambers, some meandering nonsensical answer that didn't even define what taxes he wants to study. If you're wanting to study, that means you would be at the minimum 2 years away from doing anything.
Right.
That means you're in the best possible scenario for Brad Chambers, you're 2 years away from getting property tax relief. At best, which you won't get that. Can you wait 2 more years?
So right after the debate was over, I got an email from the Brad Chambers campaign, and in the email it lays out his plan, and it says he's the only person on the stage who's not a career politician, and that means that he has no broken promises to sidestep. That's an attack on Braun. No flip-flops to defend, and he also says an actual ambitious vision for Indiana that I can't wait to talk about instead of empty sound bites. That was your opportunity to talk about your vision. Instead, he was pulling out numbers he's reading these off a note card to tell you how smart and informed he is. However, did you hear any specific plan? No, it's more, we're going to study this. We really need to do something about it. Well, no kidding.
You're going to hear a specific plan at 11 o'clock.
Ooh.
And think about this.
Wow, that's exciting.
Our analysis of this debate is 100 times more entertaining than the debate itself.
The actual debate.
This is what I've always, and this is what and it comes back to my long-standing theory on this, that the political people, the overwhelming majority of them, were the nerds growing up who were bullied and pushed around and were not a part of the power structure. And they recognized that many of those people who went on to do growing up, like they would do great in business or athletics or whatever. These people recognized, hi, there's this little part of society over here that you don't have to be all that impressive to be a part of, because, well, most of these people here are scumbags, so I'll just kind of maneuver in over here. And when you look at these people and you see them on stage, you recognize they have no ability to relate to regular people. There was not a single person up there last night who was relatable to a regular person. In fact, really the only person thus far of the 6 that's been remotely relatable is Jamie Rittenauer. Now, I don't think she's like the person you want to go pound some brews with, but she's the only person who comes off as like a remotely normal person who you would say, I could see that person at a Walmart. And part of being good at politics, and this is why I was good at it, Casey, is you have to balance it out between leaning into the freak show, not being afraid of it, and yet also having enough normal about you that people can see you in a position.
There were 2 points that I thought seemed the most normal or the most legit. And that was when it was the rapid fire questions. Those are just personality questions at the end, just to lighten things up.
That mean nothing.
That mean nothing, but it kind of is a little bit of an insight of who these people truly are. And they asked about the day trips. And I thought Suzanne Crouch, when she said Evansville to see her family, that seemed real to me. And also, when they were asking about the favorite food, They all answered what you would stereotypically expect them to say.
Right.
Except for Brad Chambers. He went off record and he was like, no, actually, I like the buttered corn, which, okay, if that's really your favorite, but I thought at least that was real.
But what a waste of time. Like, you didn't ask about property taxes, but you asked about whether you like sugar cream pie or buttered corn?
Is that how you're going to determine who you're voting for? Hey, you know what? 42% are undecided, so maybe that swayed someone.
Look, I've known Dan Spieler for almost 20 years, and he's a nice guy, and I've always gotten along with him. But and a lot of the questions they asked were fine, and but that's unbelievable that property taxes didn't get a single question, and buttered corn or sugar cream pie or where do you like to go on day trips? Why the hell as a voter would I care where Suzanne Crouch likes to day trip at or where Brad Chambers likes to day trip at? You know what I care about? Can I afford to live in my home next year? What are you going to do to help me ensure that the government can't take my home from me because I can't afford the taxes?
Did you feel that the time zone question was irrelevant?
Well, let's pivot to one that I thought was very interesting. Why don't we take a break?
Okay.
Because there was one question last night.
And we still have to get to Eric Doden's response.
Well, let's do that real quick. Why don't we do that real quick, and then we'll take a break, because there's one question last night that I thought totally summed up who these people are.
All right. Here's Eric Doden's answer.
Mr. Doden, 60 seconds to you on whether you'd back a reduced gas tax.
Well, the General Assembly is studying our tax, whole tax system right now. We're going to work with them to study that. But here's what I'm going to focus on. I've been talking with seniors all over the state of Indiana on property taxes, and we've seen an increase of up to 15, sometimes even higher % in 1 year. And they're coming to me and saying, Eric, if we do not have the ability with our fixed income to pay for these taxes, we're going to lose our home. And I think that's just wrong. So we're going to work through the General Assembly to have a cap on property taxes for seniors so that they can know exactly what their taxes are going to be while they're on a fixed income. We're going to make sure then that we work with the General Assembly to study the tax.
I'll get mad. I don't want to be mad going into break.
Okay.
That makes me furious. There already is a cap.
There already is one.
The premise of the cap was to stop this crap. And what's happened, and the Republicans, the Republican governor and the Republican supermajorities have known this for years and agreed to set the system up. The problem with the people is we didn't realize how evil the government actually was. And from day one, they realized we can always get around the cap through the assessor's office. The assessor can always raise the taxes, and we never have to do it. Same thing with these referendums. The school corporation can still bastardize the intent of the tax cap, which was to demand that school corporations get their fiscal house in order and stop pulling this crap by these referendums. Oh, we didn't win this year? I guess we'll come back next year. Oh, and newsflash, they can use public money to help push these referendums. The whole system needs to be burned to the ground. And you have these people, these mealy-mouthed, weak, pathetic, in many cases, just I can't say that or I'm going to get in trouble. Let me pull back for a second. It is infuriating. For 2 years, they have known about property taxes. It's been going on a lot longer than that, but it's been totally out of control for 2 years now. And yet not one of them can provide you a crystal clear answer on here's what we need to do, and here is what Eric Doden, you need to hear more, you need to study more. Just tell us what your plan is. Oh, and there's already a cap, so how is your cap going to be different from the cap we already have?
It's a cap on top of the cap, but only for certain people of a certain demographic.
Yeah, I guess if you're a middle class person like me who's working every day to get by, you can just eat crap and die. But hey, if you're over 65, we care about you.
All right, should we play the rest of his response?
No.
Moving on.
I want to have he infuriates me, and I'm banning him from this show for the rest of the election. I'm saying it right now. He had his chance, and he totally wimped out. And Doden, you're banned. You're banned,
boy.
And you're on the list. But they did give an answer last night, and all of them gave an answer that tells you everything you need to know about these people. Let's talk about it when we come back.
It's Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC.
Coming up on Tony Katz today, they fired Ronna McDaniel over at NBC, and they're proud of themselves for it. Why that's a problem, coming up after the news at noon on 93 WIBC.
Andrea Bocelli in concert, presented by Stiefel. Saturday, April 13th, 8 p.m., Gamebridge Fieldhouse, with the Indianapolis Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Stephen Mercurio. The world's most romantic voice, Andrea Bocelli in concert. On sale now at Gamebridge Fieldhouse box office.
Cancer's worst gets our best. Franciscan Health is a national leader in treating colorectal cancer, achieving the highest standards in cancer care. With accredited programs, board-certified oncologists, and fellowship-trained colorectal surgeons, Franciscan Health is focused on your future, offering the most advanced treatments and latest clinical trials that are no match for colorectal cancer. Meet colorectal cancer's toughest opponent at franciscanhealth.org/colon-cancer-care. That's franciscanhealth.org/colon-cancer-care.
Hello, listener friends and frenemies alike. It is Rob for my friends at the Bath Authority. The Bath Authority does it all. Walk-in tubs, replacement showers, tub-to-shower conversions, and more. And the Bath Authority provides the highest quality bathroom remodeling products along with the world-class customer experience. 317-532-5711. 317-532-5711. If you call that number today and schedule a free in-home estimate, listen to this incredible deal the Bath Authority has going for you. 317-532-5711. Schedule your free in-home estimate today. You'll get $1,000 off a new shower bath. $1,000 off a new shower bath plus 36 months of interest-free financing. TheBathAuthority.com. That's where you can see it all. TheBathAuthority.com. Or call 317-532-5711. The Bath Authority. Tell them Rob sent you.
Everyone wants energy that's reliable and affordable. I've been a Duke Energy line worker here in Indiana for almost 20 years. So I'm proud to help deliver that for the people and the communities that matter most to me. With stronger, more resilient systems, better able to stand up to severe weather, and support for local businesses and jobs. It feels good knowing I'm helping build a smarter energy future for all of us.
Paid for by Duke Energy shareholders.
All of the states surrounding Indiana have some sort of marijuana legalization. Ohio and Illinois have full legalization, while Kentucky has a medicinal marijuana. Of course, Michigan, you can find a dispensary on every corner. It is 10 minutes, actually now 9 minutes in front of 10. It's Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC. So last night during that televised debate for governor, the question came up.
All right, so before we get to that, and you can see this on the YouTube chat if you want, just Kendall and Casey in YouTube search bar there. Admit it, I walked in today and you're like, wow, I didn't know you could look this good.
Wow, you showered. That's amazing.
I mean, people forget once upon a time, this used to kind of be my life. I was a distinguished member of society. I used to wear clothes that fit and ties. And
it looks really nice. I like the yellow tie.
I used to get invited, of course, all the government stuff and the ribbon cuttings and the chicken dinners.
Yeah.
And they used to really like me over there. And I used to be, amongst the most respected members.
It was until you let your true thoughts out. I'm a little surprised that you didn't go with a red tie. That seems to be the standard.
Why would I do? Well, that's why. Come on, Casey.
Right.
You think I would do anything that's
yellow.
standard?
It's very bright and spring-like.
Well, it's our state colors. It's the blue. I got the blue jacket, the blue and the yellow tie, but the yellow because it's bold. So that's coming up. The diversity debate, which I guess Curtis Hill's decided not to participate in.
Right.
I don't know. So here's the hilarious thing about Curtis Hill. They posted some.
He doesn't want to be associated with us.
Photo of him last night. He was having some sort of virtual town hall, and I just tweeted out, he looks like he's very awkwardly sitting at a computer waiting for someone to participate in his town hall. And it's like, wait a second, you're going to be on some town hall that 9 people are viewing, and we gave you an opportunity to be heard by tens of thousands, and you chose not to take it. I mean, I think he got it from a bunch of people. But here's the thing about Curtis, and we've said this, and he's proving it correct. Curtis played. Remember how mad he got about this too? He plays in the establishment. There's a big part of Curtis that is the establishment. He still wants to be liked by those people. And those people, there is no one. The establishment of the Republican Party hates more than me. And they're like, you're going to give credit to that guy if you go in there with him. And he did not want to be judged by these establishment people, which is why he's not going to be here today.
So he needs to have approval from the establishment rather than come in here and be a disruptor.
Remember, he walked in here a couple interviews ago, and it was the first thing he said to me, I am not establishment. Dude, yeah, you are. You're the former attorney general. Still like you. Still think you would have been one of the 2 best choices up there. But after this, I mean, Imagine being afraid to debate Rob Kendall. That's crazy. I thought he was some big, tough prosecutor guy, and he so needs to be liked by those establishment people, and he's going to get 3% or 4% on Election Day, and he's going to have wasted everybody's time and resources. And Jamie Rittenauer's like, I'll come in here and do this. I don't care at all. Let's go.
Yep. Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the marijuana thing. So they got asked the question about marijuana, and their answer was telling about how they will govern. Because every single one of them didn't give deference to the people. But the polling overwhelmingly shows that Hoosiers support marijuana, period. And medical marijuana is even much further on top of that. But the answer from every one of those people, all four of them, was not about what's best for you, which is, especially from the medical side, you as a consenting adult making informed choices with your medical provider who is licensed by the state. It wasn't what's best for you. It was how does the government feel about it? In this case, the government is law enforcement. Law enforcement's job, the answer is ridiculous. Law enforcement's job is to enforce the laws that you pass. You want to be the governor. Your job is to tell law enforcement what laws are to be passed. There is zero reason to tell somebody who has cancer or PTSD or chronic illness that you have to risk getting hooked on dangerous opioids when if your medical provider who is licensed by the state tells you this is a better option. It is none of Silent Suzanne or Aaron Boy Chambers or Mike Braun or what are we calling him? Dud Doden? Is that what we're calling him? Is that the name for him? Because he's been a dud multiple times. It's none of their business what I do with my doctor. If it doesn't hurt you, it's none of your business. Now, if the answer was, look, we got to have some rules around it, like you can't be making the public squares smell like weed, great, fine. I'm totally open to that. But every single one of them, and it is the example of almost every answer they gave, their deference was to government. How will this affect government? Not how will this affect the people I'm elected to serve?
I think one of the most telling parts was when Mike Braun said that he was open to the idea of medical marijuana to be legalized. However, he wanted to listen to law enforcement.
Right.
Like, do you not have an opinion of this on your own? That was the question.
But they're all politicians. And this is
then what did Doden say? Oh, we need to research this some more.
That guy and his research. I mean, my goodness, you'd have thought he'd have done the research before he ran for governor. But we told this before. I had probably an hour-long conversation with Doden a year ago at their request. I met them downtown, and I told him the things he needed to do. I said, if you do these things, I think there were 3 or 4 things. I said, you have enough money and resources, you will have a strong chance at wowing enough people that you can bypass the the establishment and the entrenched politicians, and you can become governor. He's done none of them, and that's why he still is in this. He's weak. He's so weak. Like, think of all the fun we could have had with $7 million. You and me and Kev and Kurt Darling. Think of the vacations and the good times we could have had with $7 million. Kurt Darling, we'd have been in the front row at all those Indiana State games.
I would have been there anyway.
So but that answer about the marijuana and the medical marijuana especially, it's just infuriating that these people, after all this time and the clear consensus of the people of the state, that they will not pull the trigger because they're such politicians that they need to try to always split the baby in half and try to be liked by everyone.
Well, I don't agree with her answer, but at least she had conviction in it, and that was Suzanne Crouch. She said she does not support the legalization of marijuana. So if that's an issue for you, she's not your candidate, because she was very clear about that. So whether you agree with her or not, at least she stood firm in her position. The other, I don't know. I'm open to it. Let's study it. Let's find out.
I posted something similar to this, at Robin Kendall on Twitter, if you want to see it. If you saw that debate last night and you still want to vote for any of these 4 people, you please contact me, because I want to include you in my prayers for your judgment, because my goodness, Casey, my goodness, that is now 2-hour-plus debates with these people. There is no vision. There is no plan. There is no fight. And that's the most important thing. And that's going to be our theme, Casey, at 11 o'clock. Us versus them.
Okay.
They're all for them, and none of them want to fight.
All right, we're going to hear from Biden, Trump, and RFK Jay, all coming up. It's 93 WIBC.
At Consumer Cellular, you get the same exact coverage as the largest carriers, but for up to half the cost. Same thing, up to half the cost. Up to half the cost for the same thing. 50% the money for 100% the same thing. I hope I'm making myself clear. Consumer Cellular. When freedom calls, we're here to answer. Call us at 1-888-FREEDOM.
Half the cost savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single-line 5GB data plan with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single-line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plan offered by T-Mobile and Verizon May 2023.
24/7 ER care for kids. 24/7 peace of mind for you. Riley Children's Health emergency doctors and nurses are in the ER around the clock at IU Health North in Carmel. Learn more at rileychildrens.org/ER.
Your one blood donation can help save the lives of up to 3 people. Give blood through the American Red Cross to help hospital patients. Visit redcrossblood.org today.
Coming up in 2 minutes, how medical pot was a big topic of discussion at last night's debate, plus what the attorneys in the Delphi murder case are turning to help pay for a few things. And Indiana State is still rolling after beating Cincinnati. That and more coming up from the Technology Recyclers studios after Fox News Radio at the top of the hour. You're listening to 93 WIBC, WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. It's 10 o'clock.
That bridge collapse is not just affecting Baltimore. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
Of course, the ultimate goal is to clear that channel, get that port back up and running as quickly as possible, but that's not going to happen overnight.
Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg just told Fox that port is key to the supply chain.
The biggest vehicle handling port in the United States.
And a lot of farm equipment goes through Baltimore.
And that's a very important part of our economy because those are some of our best exports.
Meanwhile, divers are back in the water.
Sadly, officials don't think any of those 6 remaining victims will have survived after spending all day yesterday and evening in the frigid water here, but they are still looking for them. As far as the investigation goes, the NTSB is leading that, and they're looking into what caused the ship to lose power and steer right into the key bridge.
Fox Business Network's Grady Trimble in Baltimore. It's up to 140 dead in Russia from Friday's terror attack at a rock concert in Moscow. After one of the many injured died of those injuries, 80 others still hospitalized. ICE has claimed responsibility for the attack. 4 suspected gunmen were arrested, but Russia's leader claims Ukraine was in on the terror plot. The U.S. says that's not true. The Texas law the Republican-led state says is necessary to stop an invasion remains on hold.
That 3-judge panel at the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled to keep Texas's controversial immigration law known as SB 4 or Senate Bill 4 on hold for right now. That means that state law enforcement will not be allowed to arrest and deport migrants suspected of being in Texas illegally. Another appellate hearing is scheduled for next week with the same panel of judges who previously found SB 4 to be unconstitutional and conflicting with federal law.
That's Fox's Casey Teagle in Eagle Pass, Texas. The UN has just put out a report showing a lot of food is thrown out, estimating we waste 19% of the food produced globally in 2022. America's listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
He says it should happen. It's cloudy and 36 downtown. I'm Kurt Darling. Here's what's trending at 10:02. Senator Mike Braun says if elected governor, he would seriously consider supporting legislation to legalize medical pot.
I'm going to listen to law enforcement. They have to put up with the brunt of it. Medical marijuana is where I think the case is best made, that maybe something needs to change.
In a debate last night on Fox 59 in Indy, he and other GOP candidates for governor squared off, and they discussed several topics, including the southern border and even which time zone Indiana should be in. The defense team for the Delphi murder suspect Richard Allen are now using crowdsource to cover their outside costs in the case. The attorneys are using the money to pay for expert witnesses and have raised over $9,000 so far. Whether it's for utilities or fire hydrants or your bathtub, having enough water in any situation could be vital for Indiana and over the next 50 years. Donnie Burgess explains.
The North Central Indiana Water Study is currently examining the water needs, demand, and supply of 28 counties across central Indiana to see what may be needed over the next 5 decades. The study stretches from Vermilion County in the west to Allen County in the northeast and covers a lot of ground in between. The Indiana Financial Authority expects to have a full report on your county's water needs by the fall. Donnie Burgess, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
Tommy Lee Jackson Jr. and Kenneth Johnson went on a spending spree in Fortville and other places around Indianapolis with counterfeit $100 bills that they made themselves to look like bills from the early 90s. IMPD Lieutenant Shane Foley tells Wish TV.
We want to warn the public, warn businesses, warn employees, warn citizens that if people are presenting $100 bills to you, that you're using caution and you're ensuring that those are valid.
Johnson has been arrested, but Jackson is still on the lam. Indiana State had yet another second-half comeback to upend Cincinnati 85-81 in the NIT quarterfinals last night. Head coach Josh Schertz calling it an extraordinary effort by his squad. The Sycamores head east to Hinkle Fieldhouse next week for the semifinals. I'm Kirk Darling on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
This is the most exciting time of the year, and we want you to go all the way, even if your team doesn't. March on, Indiana, in a Hubler quality pre-owned vehicle. Shop any of Hubler's 12 locations and choose from over 1,000 vehicles. Chevys, Fords, GMCs, Buicks, Nissans, Acuras, Mazdas, Hondas, and many more. All makes, all models, certified vehicles, luxury vehicles, even the hard-to-find ones. Every Hubler Q-certified vehicle is covered by a 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty, plus a 128-point vehicle inspection and a free Carfax history report. Hubler's got you covered for 100,000 miles. Busted brackets not included. So what drives Indiana? DriveHubler.com. For over 1,000 vehicles, visit any of our 12 locations.
Hubler's got you covered.
Warranty on select models less than 9 years old.
You're listening to Rob Kendall.
When we talk about sending money somewhere, we're talking about printing the money because we have no money.
And Casey Daniels.
My government would never lie to me, would they?
On 93 WIBC.
Good morning. It is Wednesday, March 27th. It's 5 minutes after 10. You're listening to Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC. So it happened what seemed to be in the middle of the night, early morning, and a dispatcher crackled over the radio saying that cargo ship had lost its steering capabilities and was heading towards the Francis Scott Key Bridge. And in about 90 seconds, the police responders had managed to stop a good majority of the traffic from crossing that bridge. And right now it appears that 6 workers are feared dead from that accident.
Yeah, and anytime 6 people die, obviously it's horrific, and you just thoughts and prayers to those people's family. However, it sounds like some swift action from the ship itself may have saved a lot of lives because they were quick action from authorities in Maryland. They were able to basically clear that bridge to where there was not a slew of traffic maneuvering across it. And Tony was talking about this yesterday. A lot of people think, well, it was the middle of the night. How much could there have been? You're talking about a port city.
Yeah, 30,000 people cross that bridge every day.
Right, and you're talking about people come and go at all times because of the port status. So this is not something like, oh, there might have been 4 people. There could have been 400 people. You don't know. So thankfully, and again, anytime anybody loses their life, it's horrible, but thankfully it was not worse. Now the question becomes, what exactly happened here? Because, you can't just jump to clearly something is, amiss and it's a conspiracy or a terrorist attack. But there appear to be a lot of unanswered questions that are going to probably take some time to get through. And, hopefully we'll be able to get to the bottom of exactly what happened to try to, in some way, maybe prevent this from happening again, if indeed it was even preventable.
Yeah, it is interesting, though. The White House came out and said in a statement that there is no indication of nefarious intent. And then the FBI from the Baltimore field office came out and said there's no specific or credible information to suggest any ties to terrorism. And they made those conclusions within 6 hours after the ship hit the bridge.
Yeah, those sort of things kind of look, and obviously we're in a world, and one thing we need to point out to people, the reason people view it this way is because the government has lost all trust. This is the fault of the government. The reason people default to conspiracy is because the government has earned a 0 trust. So the government has done this to themselves. And when you immediately say, well, there's nothing to indicate, how would you know? It's 6 hours in. I mean, you're not even there investigating, really, for the most part, probably, given the makeup of what you have to investigate 6 hours in. So that is a red flag for people. But, again, I always try to be like, let's get the information first, and then we'll find out, exactly, and how the government handles it and how forthright and transparent they are with everything, because we have to be able to try to prevent something like this from happening again. We have to make sure whatever caused this thing to happen, that it does not happen again.
Well, those pads have been placed on other major bridges, and that bridge clearly did not have those pads placed near the water line to stop that from happening.
But the bigger question has to be, how does the ship hit the bridge? What happened on that ship that caused it to hit the bridge? And again, that's going to unfortunately take time. I know people want instantaneous information, but that stuff is going to take time, and the onus will be on the government to be as transparent as humanly possible and give everybody the information, whether it makes the government look good, look bad, whatever, and then hopefully we'll get reassurance that it was some sort of tragic accident, and maybe here's A, B, and C that can help prevent that in the future. But until then, people are going to have red flags up because the government has lost all trust with the people.
Well, and it is going to have an effect, especially on the entire East Coast, because the Port of Baltimore is a major hub. It's going to be a logistical nightmare for the East Coast, especially affecting shipping and supply chain, and losing that bridge. It's going to be devastating to that area. Of course, the Transportation Secretary, Pete Buttigieg, said, they're going to try and fix it as quickly as possible. He did not give a time frame. The president was updating America on the collapse of the bridge and said it wasn't a terrorist attack, not intentional act, and that the government is going to pay for the entire cost of reconstructing it.
As I told Governor Moore, I've directed my team to move heaven and earth to reopen the port and rebuild the bridge as soon as humanly possible. And we're going to work hand in hand with the support of Maryland to support Maryland, whatever they ask for. We're going to work with our partners in Congress to make sure the state gets the support it needs. It's my intention that the federal government will pay for the entire cost of reconstructing that bridge. And I expect the Congress to support my effort. This is going to take some time. The people of Baltimore can count on us, though, to stick with them at every step of the way.
Don't you love how he just throws it out there? We'll pay for everything.
Regardless of if it's the shipping company's fault.
Yeah, how much? Like, where does that money come from? I mean, I just love how these government people just throw these things out. We got to do this, and we got to do that, and we'll pay for this, and we'll pay for that. Oh, okay, great. And again, you're right, Casey, before there's even any answer as to here's who's to blame, here's why this happened, here's what they or anything that could have been done differently.
Any investigation at all. We're paying for it. We're going to rebuild it. But he went on. He said at one point he wasn't going to take any questions. But yes, he will be visiting Baltimore.
And the reason I'm not going to take a lot of questions, there's remaining issues that are open that we got to determine what's going to happen in terms of the rescue mission and the like. But
Do you plan to go to Baltimore, sir? And if so, how quickly?
I do, and as quickly as I can.
Whoa,
as quickly as he can.
Whoa. How is this any different than
Palestine?
Yeah, how is
Palestine
in Ohio? What's the difference there, Biden-esky?
It took him over a year to visit there.
Yeah.
So he's going to get to Baltimore as soon as he can. It's closer to D.C. I mean, it's, within an hour.
He doesn't have a plane?
He doesn't need a plane.
I think he does have a plane.
He can get in the Beast and drive up there.
I mean, isn't that a serious, like, a rational question? Why will you be there as soon as you can, but you didn't go to Palestine? What is that tragedy more a tragedy than that one? Like, what? How does anybody square any of this?
He did say that he was very familiar with the Francis Scott Key Bridge. People in the area.
He probably said he was friends
Bridge.
with Francis Scott Key, didn't he?
He said he's been there many, many times during his commutes. And
I remember when I helped Francis Scott Key.
I co-wrote that song he's famous for. He said that he took the train over the bridge.
I looked at Francis Scott Key and I said, look here, corn pop.
At about 1:30, container ship struck the Francis Scott Key Bridge, which I've been over many, many times commuting from the state of Delaware, either on a train or by car.
He said he went on a train. Right? You heard that, right?
I don't think there is a train.
Bridge does not have any rail lines. It only has 4 lanes of traffic.
So he almost
It's never had trains on it.
I was being facetious when I said that, but he told a whopper almost as big as I helped write the song. Francis Scott Key.
Right? He writes the songs, doesn't he?
He's Barry Manilow.
Okay, so another thing that happened yesterday is that Robert Kennedy Jr. announced his vice president pick.
Ah, jeez.
And he picked Nicole Shanahan.
If Nicole and I can get Americans to refuse to vote from fear, we're going to be in the White House in November. Nicole and I are running to help heal the symptoms of an ailing America, to heal our divisions, to heal our economy, to heal our mental health and our spiritual and our physical health. But we can't do it alone. We need you. And now I have a governing partner who will fight for you and for your family until the last corporate kickback from our government, the last toxin is cleared from our water and our soil.
Okay, you know who was
what?
the
Is
happiest?
it done?
Yeah.
Oh.
You know who was the happiest about this announcement?
Who was that?
Donald Trump.
Oh, yes.
Because
she's a total. He picked a total leftist maniac. She is corporate America
and very progressive.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I mean, the idea she was married to what, the Google guy, right? Wasn't that how she got her money? I mean, she's not some, Bill Gates and female Bill Gates. She was married to someone super rich, correct?
Yeah.
So he picked someone totally in touch and in tune to and chummy with mega corporations, which he's against. He's running as a centrist. He picked a total leftist maniac. And so what does she bring to the table for you other than she can give you a bunch of money?
Other than money.
Which makes you just another politician. He's boring. She's boring. That money isn't going to matter because he doesn't have it necessary to drive the day.
Well, he grew up around politics. He's at least familiar with them, right?
Right.
Her, not so much. And you could tell she wasn't prepared for the stage that she has now been lifted to.
She's going to be a disaster. All right, we got to take a break because we have something very special coming up. Coming up next, it's our Feel Good segment.
Yes.
And look, obviously, Sunday is Easter. I'm not going to be here tomorrow or Friday, and there's no way I was getting out the door without an Easter message. We try to do something with that every year. And there was an incredible message about Easter over the weekend at Life Church that was so much different than anything I'd heard before. And you know us, Casey. We got to be entertaining on top of giving people the stuff. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. We're going to have a special guest come in because obviously, look, the resurrection, the crucifixion and resurrection is the most significant event in human history. Whether you are a believer or not, the crucifixion and resurrection shapes everything that has happened in this world for more than 2,000 years. And so we got to give it its due. And we've got an incredibly special guest to talk about a very different message related to the resurrection when we come back.
It's Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC.
Tony Katz.
The cities have failed. Become too difficult. Whether it be Chicago or San Francisco or New York or Indianapolis, they are connected by their progressive politics, and their progressive politics make things too difficult. It does not take a brain surgeon. It does not take any level of skill to note the connectivity. Just admit it.
Tony Katz, mornings 6 to 9 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Tax Talk with Straight Talk.
You give and you give. This tax season, you get with Straight Talk Wireless. You get a reliable 5G network and unlimited data and a new Samsung Galaxy A15 for just $99. So you can give your janky phone to your kid. Yeah! Good talk.
Switch to Straight Talk for plans starting as low as $25 a line per month for 4 lines. Find us at Walmart and StraightTalk.com. For network management practices, visit StraightTalk.com. Device offer ends 4/14/24. In-store activation on single Silver Unlimited plan or higher required. Family plan discount with 4 lines all on the Silver Unlimited plan. Taxes and fees apply.
Mow the Distance is back at your local Gravely dealer. Now through April 8th, you can save up to 25% with special financing available on America's most rugged mowers, including the ZTHD, the residential mower built to commercial standards. Visit your local Gravely dealer today.
Everyone knows that soaking in Epsom salts can make you feel better. Now imagine soaking in Epsom salts in a Royal Spa hot tub.
Ah, Royal Spa.
Tired of hearing Rob talk about all the bad news? Time to find your happy place. Turn that frown upside down. It's time for Rainbows with Rob.
93 WIBC, it is the Kendall and Casey show. I'm Rob. Casey's here, and you know, Casey, it is that time.
What time is that?
Well, we have to find something positive going on in the world and talk about it.
Yes.
And
shouldn't be hard this week.
Well, look, here's the thing. So today is my last day. I'm done for the period. Some people just did a celebration. Oh my gosh, it's his last day. He's done forever.
Finish the sentence.
It's my last day for the week.
There we go.
And obviously Easter is Sunday. And I said, there's no way I can skedoodle on out the door without doing something on Easter.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, it is the most significant event in human history.
Yes, this is true.
Yeah, I was thinking about that this morning. Even if you're a non-believer, your entire world, religion, etc., is shaped around this event. So we have to talk about it because it is actually real and it did actually happen. But I thought, how do we give kind of a different take on this? How do we do something different than what maybe our audience has heard before as it relates to Jesus' resurrection?
You're talking about other than just the story that we know.
Exactly, because everybody's heard the story. Obviously, it's wonderful. It's amazing. But we are in the entertainment business here, Casey. Let's face it. And I saw something recently, and I said, oh my gosh, this is wonderful. This would be the perfect way to address this issue. And it comes from our friends at Life Church.
Yeah.
And actually joining us now, Nathan Peternell. He's the lead pastor at Life Church. Nathan, hello.
Hey.
And so full disclosure, you guys obviously advertise on the show. But you guys, the topic of the sermon this past weekend, because obviously it was Palm Sunday. We're now in Easter week, Easter season. And I kind of felt so silly and so ignorant. But I was like, I've never really thought about this before. Is what happened between when Jesus was crucified and when he rose from the dead.
Yeah.
Like, Casey, I've never, how did I not, just ponder what was happening before? I've never thought about that before, I don't think.
Right. There were a few days there.
Yes. So, Nathan, you guys, I was just curious, why did you guys make that the focus of the sermons this week at Life Church?
Well, I think a lot of Christians, they haven't thought about it.
Right.
And,
guilty. 100%.
And you talk about the triumphant entry, which is Palm Sunday, and everybody goes, the donkey story, you know? Well, there was another triumphant entry, and there's going to be still yet another triumphant entry, according to the scripture, one that happens in the book of Revelation. But there's one that happens that doesn't get a lot of press, and it's what happened to Jesus when he died on the cross. Where did he go? And if you're a Christian, and you've ever heard of the Apostles' Creed, which Catholics and Protestants alike use, there's this little verse.
See, Casey, we can get along on this. You and I can unite.
Yeah.
This little phrase that said that he descended into hell. And people go, holy cow, Jesus went to hell? I mean, didn't he suffer enough on the cross? Why does he have to go to hell? But then there's the question of what does that mean? And so there's a story in Luke chapter 16, which is the rich man and Lazarus. There's two Lazarus in the Bible. There's the beggar Lazarus, and then there's Jesus' friend Lazarus.
Right.
But in the story of Luke 16, it tells us that the rich man goes to hell, or the place of the departed dead, but also that Lazarus, the beggar, goes to the place of the departed dead, and they're both in the same place, but on two different sides of a great chasm. And on one side's the place of torment, which is heat and flame, and the other side is the place of comfort, which is called Abraham's bosom.
So pre-Jesus dying on the cross and coming back from the dead, this is where people who lived a good, godly life would go.
Regardless, it's called the underworld. So regardless of whether you go to the side of comfort or the side of torment, everybody went to this place, and it's a holding place. And so according to the scriptures, everybody who believed in the sacrificial system of the Old Testament, when you sinned and then you killed a lamb or you killed an animal, and that the Bible says without the shedding of blood there's no forgiveness of sins. Even though you didn't know Jesus, but you believed in God's word and were doing this, you were believing in what was to come. Those were types, shadows, and pictures of Jesus, which would be the ultimate Lamb of God come to take away the sins of the world. So
his blood was shed so we didn't have to kill lambs anymore.
Well, absolutely. And the Bible says that he was slain from the foundations of the earth, right? This was always the mind of God. It wasn't plan B This was always going to happen. God knew if he made man, man would mess up. And he still made man. And he still had a plan.
Let me introduce you again real quick. Nathan Peternell is our guest. He's the lead pastor at Life Church. We're talking about, because it is obviously Easter season, this is just an incredible thing. Should I be embarrassed that I never thought about this before?
I think a lot of Christians don't.
Have you ever thought about this, Casey?
No, I haven't. And you know what? I've actually pulled up the Apostles' Creed that you mentioned, and the line is, born of the Virgin Mary, suffered under Pontius Pilate, was crucified, died, and was buried. He descended into hell, and on the third day he rose again.
Yeah, so we're talking about what happened to Jesus in these days, 3 days between the crucifixion and the resurrection. Go ahead, sorry.
So essentially, everybody goes to this place. One side, in the story of rich man and Lazarus, the rich man wants to get out, or to have Lazarus come over and just dip his finger in water, put it on his tongue because he's in so much torment. And Abraham tells him, I'm sorry, that can't happen. Nobody can go from this side to your side. Nobody from your side can escape to come to our side. And he says, oh, well, then please send Lazarus back from the dead, send him to my brothers because I don't want them to come here. And you've heard misery loves company, not in hell.
Better known as this radio show.
Well, not in hell. Even those in hell, they don't want anybody to go there. And he says, well, if you would send Lazarus back from the dead, then there's no way my brothers would come here. And Abraham says to the rich man, he says, no, they have the law, they have the prophets, and even if one would be sent back from the dead, they won't believe. Well, God essentially did even what the rich man was asking for, because he gave us the law, he gave us the prophets, and all to tell us who was to come, but he did send one back from the dead, and that was Jesus. So Jesus dies on the cross. He says, it is finished. He dies. Where does he go? He goes to the place of the departed dead. Now, his body's going to go to a tomb for 3 days, and all of the people that are alive on earth that were his followers are going to mourn. They're going to be dejected. They never saw this coming, even though he told them it was coming. But where does Jesus go?
They believed, the belief was, and this is why people mocked him, they believed because he rides in on Palm Sunday, the King of the Jews, he's going to free us. Their interpretation was he's going to free us from the Romans.
Yes.
It's totally amazing to me.
Well, I mean, that's what they were looking for. They were looking for a political leader, but God came to be a whole lot more than a political leader. He came to be the one to set us free from sin and death. So Jesus now descends into Hades, which is the term that we would use. He goes down, and he goes down to gather up what belongs to him, all of the righteous Old Testament saints who believed in the sacrifice. And he says, look, when you believed in the sacrifice, you believed in me. When you did those things in faith, and what is Abraham? He's the father of faith. It says that Abraham believed God and it was counted unto him as righteousness. So all those who were in the side of comfort, they believed in God and it was counted unto them as righteous. Now Jesus goes down and he says, I am taking all of you with me. And so he proclaims himself. He says, see, I'm here. Now there's another portion of spirits that we have to talk about. The ones that are already in chains and bondage on the other side of the chasm. And those are the demonic powers that the Bible says have already been imprisoned because they did not honor the boundaries that God had said, and God put them there. That's why, like, when Jesus meets the Gerasene demoniac, the demons are freaking out because they say, oh, have you come to torture us and throw us into the abyss before the appointed hour? They are freaked out by Jesus. Well, he's also declaring to them, hey, you guys thought that you were going to kill me, and you thought that this was going to win you the day, and that God could somehow be overthrown. I'm just here to declare to you that you lose.
This sermon was fascinating, and full disclosure, I watched it yesterday, and that's why I love you guys have the Life Church IN. You guys have the sermons all posted, so you can go back and watch them when you want. I was watching this yesterday, and I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so silly that this has never even dawned on me before. That, like, what happened for 3 days.
Yeah.
It was a great sermon.
There's a verse that a lot of Christians are familiar with, and it says that he led captivity captive. He goes down to where all the people are waiting for him. They're waiting, and he says, okay, it's time to go. I've come to be everything that you always believed in. Let's go. Now he's going to empty hell. And the Bible says in Revelation chapter 1, it says, I am he who is the first and the last. I was dead, but now I am living. This is Jesus speaking. And he said, and now I have the keys of death and the hell. So, or death and Hades. So Jesus goes down. He takes from the enemy all their authority, all their power. He basically makes them look stupid, and then takes and empties out hell. Now, here's a cool thought about Greek mythology. In Greek mythology, Hades is the god of the underworld. Right?
Yeah.
Nobody escapes from Hades. Jesus came down and he said, I'm just going to rob you blind, man. And he just takes everything out. So it is a triumphant entry, but not just into Jerusalem. This is the triumphant entry into hell.
You know, Casey, I was thinking about this morning before I left to go to work. I was just watching my daughter, and I was just looking at her, and she's totally unaware that I'm watching her. And I'm looking at her going, how anybody could doubt that any of this is real. Like, if you think all of this stuff just magically happened in some sort of explosion or vacuum or whatever, and it just blows my mind that there are people who do. And that's why I just thought, man, we gotta touch on this, because this is really like an incredible story, and it's one that I'd never thought of before.
Yeah, different side of an Easter story, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's what we do here. We entertain.
Yeah.
That's our job. Hey, what do you guys got coming up for Life Church on Sunday?
Well, we got services. If you want to catch a service at one of our 4 locations, just go to lifechurchin.com, and you can click on the location that's closest to you. And this is kind of the Super Bowl of Christians,
said,
right?
Yeah.
This is our big day, and and so it's just going to be celebratory and great. You know, they say that that this is the one time a year that if somebody got an invitation to go to church, they are most likely to say yes.
Yeah.
So give somebody an invitation and say, come with me. Let's go out to breakfast afterwards. Make it a celebratory day. But this is the day where we see many, many people who have been drifting and away from God, and they go, you know what? They do exactly what you just said. The story's too good not to be true. It's too perfect. And then they start reevaluating their lives and making some changes.
Nathan Peter, now Life Church, thank you for this. This was great.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
You're listening to Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC.
Indy's leader in patio installation is now offering a new driveway package. Schedule a free estimate today at indydecorativeconcrete.com. That's indydecorativeconcrete.com.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Back to the search. Radar is clear, but it's cloudy and 38 downtown. I'm Kirk Darling. Here's what's trending at 10:30. Recovery efforts are back underway this morning for the 6 construction workers presumed dead after yesterday's bridge collapse in Baltimore. The search for the missing workers was suspended Tuesday night because of darkness. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg laying it down.
If the investigation determines that any private party or parties are responsible, they will be held accountable.
Overnight, the NTSB boarded the ship that crashed into the bridge. The head of the NTSB said the agency recovered the ship's voyage data recorder. A Texas law that would allow police to arrest people suspected of crossing the border illegally is being kept on hold by an appeals court. In a 2-1 ruling, the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in New Orleans denied the state of Texas's request to suspend a lower court order that found the law to be unconstitutional. I'm Kirk Darling, on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
When it comes to remodeling your bathroom, do you think it matters if the guy who's actually in there doing the work cares about his job? Kate here from Baths R Us, and trust me, it matters a lot. Most bathroom remodelers hire the cheapest subcontractors they can find, provide no training, offer no benefits, and then fire them the second they don't have enough work to keep them busy. They can barely pay their bills, they hate their jobs, and that's the guy in there remodeling your bathroom. At Baths R Us, our installers are the lifeblood of our company, and we treat them that way. They are actual W-2 employees with great pay and benefits, insurance, 401k, vehicles, the works. We always keep them busy, and they love their jobs. So call Baths R Us if you want a gorgeous new bathroom, built with love by employees who love their jobs. Call now and get $1,500 off plus low to no monthly payments. Our number is 317-886-1761 or online at bathsrus.com. That's bathsrus.com.
Hey guys, it's Rob from my friends at Life Church. And man, it is Easter week, and Life Church would so love the opportunity to meet and welcome you and your family this Easter Sunday. Well, Life Church is warm. They're welcoming. Many WIBC listeners have found a home at Life Church over the years. And I'll tell you what, you got nothing to lose and everything to gain. Life Church makes it so easy for you with campuses all across central Indiana, Noblesville, Fishers, Eagle Creek, and Pendleton, in addition to awesome online services. Learn more about everything Life Church and this Easter Sunday by going to lifechurchin.com.
Greetings from R&R Agency, your Indiana health insurance pros, and a sincere thank you to our loyal customers for helping make us national sales leaders for the 7th year in a row. We continue to save our new clients 30 to 40% when compared to their current ACA, short-term COBRA, or small group programs. Breaking news. On July the 7th, President Biden signed an executive order outlawing short-term health plans. If you're on a short-term plan or just unhappy with your present coverage, call Terry or Ron at 317-563-0868 or go to rragency.org. That's 317-563-0868. or rragency.org. If you don't call us, we can't help you. Our coverages are guaranteed to age 65 with zero deductible and zero copay options, all on the largest network in the country. Give us a call. What the heck you got to lose? As always, God bless America, or at least what's left of her.
Did you know one of the best investments you can make? It's in yourself. At My Computer Career, in just a few months, you could start your new career in the high-demand, recession-resistant field of information technology. Isn't it time you invest in you and start a career in networking, cybersecurity, AI, or upskill to boost your current IT career? So, get the ROI you deserve at My Computer Career. No experience necessary. Start now at mycomputercareer.edu.
Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
Tax Talk with Straight Talk.
You give and you give. This tax season, you get with Straight Talk Wireless. You get a reliable 5G network and unlimited data and a Samsung Galaxy A14 included when you buy an extended Silver Unlimited plan. So you can give your janky phone to your kid. Yeah!
Switch to Straight Talk. Find us at Walmart and StraightTalk.com. For network management practices, visit StraightTalk.com. Device offer ends 4/14/24. Taxes and fees apply.
Indy's leader in patio installation is now offering a new driveway package. Schedule a free estimate today at IndyDecorativeConcrete.com. That's IndyDecorativeConcrete.com.
Greetings from R&R Agency, your Indiana health insurance pros, and a sincere thank you to our loyal customers for helping make us national sales leaders for the 7th year in a row. We continue to save our new clients 30 to 40% when compared to their current ACA, short-term COBRA, or small group programs. Breaking news. On July the 7th, President Biden signed an executive order outlawing short-term health plans. If you're on a short-term plan or just unhappy with your present coverage, call Terry or Ron at 317-563-0868 or go to rragency.org. That's 317-563-0868 or rragency.org. If you don't call us, we can't help you. Our coverages are guaranteed to age 65 with zero deductible and zero copay options, all on the largest network in the country. Give us a call. What the heck you got to lose? As always, God bless America, or at least what's left of her.
You love spring and indies, so don't spend it painting. Do what your neighbor Mike did. He called Rhino Shield.
Our home is basically a contemporary, and we just started noticing that the paint was just fading and just looked like garbage. We had received a postcard from Rhino Shield, and we decided to take a look at it.
Rhino Shield's formulated for our specific climate here in Indiana.
The process with Rhino Shield and their crew, they were just very conscientious. We had problems in the past with painters. They leave debris and everything. Well, we didn't have that with Rhino Shield.
Way better than paint, backed by a 25-year warranty. Right now, get the guaranteed protection of Rhino Shield for 15% off the regular price.
The thing about Rhino Shield, the heat gain has been reduced, and we save $70 a month. You don't hear that about any type of paint.
Here's Rhino Shield's Shane Smith.
This offer is limited, so call me at 888-RHINO-41. That's 888-RHINO-41.
Don't paint.
Don't vinyl.
Go Rhino.
Paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
You're listening to the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC. It's time to hear from you. Kendall and Casey present Voicemails. Brought to you by QC Kinetics for non-surgical regenerative medicine treatments at 317-559-PAIN.
317-684-8444. If you would like to become involved with voicemails, this is the portion of the program where we turn it over to you. So it was a big night last night on your television as 4 candidates for governor had a televised debate, and we start off the voicemail segment with a comment about that debate.
Well, thanks to Channel 4 and 59 for running such a great snooze fest last night called The Debate. This was terrible. They didn't have 2 candidates they should have had on. I'm looking forward to this morning, Rob, when you do have possibly 2 of the better candidates, if not the best candidates on. Not a single question about property taxes.
Correct.
Nice guys. This is what is on everybody's mind is property taxes. Please, if you're going to be the wonderful big news source you are in Indianapolis, making all your claims, we're number one at this, number one at that. We know how demographics work, by the way. Give us some substance.
Okay. So
good on it.
A little upset that they didn't address that.
They won't fix the property taxes because they don't know how, and we're going to tell you how, hopefully next hour.
By the way, have I shown you what I brought in today?
You got a bell.
Yeah. Get used to that sound.
You got a bell.
That's my bell, my
I thought you were
timing
going to have
bell.
a zapper.
No. Although that may be more appropriate. We'll see. Okay, so it was also a big week for Abdul as he was in court.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and so here's a phone call about Honest Gabe.
It's 10 p.m. right now, and I don't think Honest Gabe has learned his lesson. The reason why I say it's 10 p.m. because I was listening to your show, and I was like, I'm going to Google this guy because I've never even seen what he looks like or anything like that. So I Google it, and it says 10 hours ago on his Twitter or X or wherever the heck it is now, 10 hours ago, so around noon, this is what he wrote on his Twitter. A lawyer cannot threaten the life of another individual, but only in Marion County they can get away with it. We did embarrass them, and the judge was definitely upset at him for making a mockery of the judicial system. Is he okay? Like, does he need to be seen at a 72-hour, does he need a 72-hour observation at a mental institution or something?
So, of course, he's talking about Honest Gabe Whitley, who was flushed down the legal toilet by Abdul the other day. I don't whether Gabe's okay or not. I don't know. He's a serial pathological liar, and he's got some very serious issues in front of him, and he doesn't clearly have any appreciation for them. The bigger issue with Gabe is not what a doofus Gabe is or what a liar Gabe is.
It's that he's running for office.
Right. And the Marion County Republican Party knows who this guy is. They know he could be their nominee for Congress. The Indiana Republican State Party knows who this guy is. They know what he's accused of having done. I mean, that hearing, Casey, it was like being witness to some sort of insane, bizarro world dinner theater the other day, except it was real life. Like, this guy was doing that. And the state party and the county party know who this guy is. They know what he's alleged to have done. They know all about him, and yet they don't say a word. There's a big part of me that hopes he is the nominee for Congress, because can you imagine the fun that we'll be able to have with that? Oh, and once he becomes the nominee for Congress, more people will start digging into this guy. He will not stop. This is the thing about Gabe. He will not stop until someone in a position of authority puts a stop to him.
I think it's interesting because he says that WIBC is obsessed with him. I think it's really the other way around. Okay, coming up at 11 o'clock today, we have our diversity debate.
That's right.
And Jamie Rittenauer is going to be in, and you're going to be debating as well. I spent, instead of spending my evening on Twitter critiquing the televised debate that was happening last night, I was coming up with the moderator questions for our debate today, and I've got my coin for our coin toss to see who goes first. I've got my bell ready, and we're really prepared for 11 o'clock. I think it's really going to be interesting, but here is a phone call and some advice for me.
This is Gary from Lebanon. On the debate tomorrow, I think the moderator, Casey, ought to ask the questions in the spirit of Rosanna, Anna, Dana.
No, I won't be doing that. Okay, we've got one last thing we need to cover before Hammer joins us.
So
and you got a letter, you got some fan mail.
I got this email yesterday, and my favorite thing is when somebody will send a mean email to me, and they will copy our bosses on it. And our boss, one time, Dion said, overwhelmingly, Rob, I get the most complaints about you.
Mm-hmm.
And then he just chuckled and walked away. Like, I just love how people think, if I just let his bosses know how angry I am at him, they're just going to they're going to fire him immediately. So we have had a little fun with Purdue basketball, specifically Zach Edey.
Yeah.
And I've said he gets immense leeway with the officials. And I've said, I don't think he's that great. I think he's a gargantuan human who, when playing against other college players, is a very effective player. There's a reason he didn't go to the NBA last year. There's a reason he's not going to be overly successful in the NBA. He's a perfect college player, especially when Kunzo Martin and Glenn Robinson are reffing the games with you. But other than that, I don't think he's that great. I was unaware we had such soft people in our listening audience, Casey.
I think it's a Purdue fan. That's what
it's
is.
a very. So I'm going to read you this guy's email. Now, keep in mind, he copied my bosses on this, our bosses, thinking he was going to get me in trouble, and then I'll read you my response to him. Are you ready?
Okay.
All right, here we go. I have listened to your show on and off for some time. Casey is quite good.
Oh, yes. I like that.
Your comments on Purdue basketball and Zach Edey were off-based and showed a lack of basketball knowledge. Your comment that referees are in the tank for Edey and Purdue was totally out of line. I would tell you to stay in your lane. But clearly, someone as negative and full of themselves as you has no filter. Not sure why you chose to disparage the only Indiana team and its star player in the NCAA tournament. But if your goal was to lose listeners, you have at least succeeded in losing one.
Oh.
Cordially,
Yeah.
David.
Why does David sound like Donald Trump? It's like the same voice. Can you go back and read the second sentence?
Casey is quite good.
Yes, there it is.
Okay, so would you like to read my response to him?
Yeah.
We don't need any music for this. I just said, if you copy more people on this email, it might be more effective. I would like more people to know how much leeway I think the refs give Edey. And I have a degree from IU. So it was actually part of the requirement to get the degree that I had to sign a pledge to always disparage Purdue.
Okay. So this is just a Purdue fan who's upset that you're a Hoosier who's not supporting the Indiana team. That's what it is. He just wants you to be proud, you know, represent the state.
Yeah, I'm led to believe that this guy was like shooting fireworks off in '87 when Smart hit the shot for IU, right? Sure.
Okay. Yeah. Hammer's going to join us next. It's Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC.
Tonight on the Tony Kinnecast, we sit down with Bill Whittle for a bit of the greatest interview on history since Chuck Norris met George Washington. Tune in at 7 p.m. right here or the podcast anytime.
Expand your backyard living space with an Indie decorative concrete patio. Did you know that on average, our patios are less expensive than a wood deck? With a longer life, less maintenance, more color options, and more texture and pattern selections. We can even stamp your patio to look like wood. You can get a much larger and longer-lasting entertainment space for your investment. Indie Decorative Concrete, the patio experts, changing the way Indie thinks about concrete.
Hello, friends. It's Rob from my friends at Universal Windows Direct. And man, does Universal Windows Direct have an incredible deal going on right now. Get this. If you call 317-659-7574, 317-659-7574, schedule your free in-home estimate. And when you do that, you'll be eligible to buy 2 windows and get the next 2 free. No limit on how many this applies to. Buy 2, get 2. Buy 4, get 4. Buy 20, you get 20. You get the deal. Plus, when you call 317-659-7574 and you say, hey, Rob Kendall from WIBC told me to call, they're going to take an additional $250 off your project. You can see everything at universalwindowsdirect.com or give them a call. 317-659-7574 for that incredible buy 2, get 2 deal plus $250 off your project. Universal Windows Direct, universalwindowsdirect.com. Tell them Rob sent you.
You can trust your flush to us. Howald Plumbers are the best in the business. Howald Heating, Air Conditioning, and Plumbing, where coming home never felt so good.
What people suffering from nasal breathing, snoring, and sleep apnea problems want is for their issues to be fixed. And at Advent, that is precisely what we do. Here, there are no Band-Aids, but there is a thorough approach to get to the root of your problem. And in tens of thousands of cases, finding simple solutions, which are undeniably effective, have made remarkably positive impacts on people's lives. I'm Dr. Madan Kandula. For years, patients have been traveling literally from around the world to come to us to find what no one else has been able to give them. And that's why now we've come closer to you.
If your quality of life has been diminished because of nasal breathing, snoring, or sleep apnea problems, and you don't know who to turn to, go to adventknows.com to schedule your appointment, because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better.
Breathe well with simple solutions. Breathe well with simple solutions. AdventKnows.com.
Results may vary.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20, a Pfizer vaccine.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine. It can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
You love spring in Indy, but you hate to paint, so do what Judy did. She called Rhino Shield.
The house that Rhino Shield did for my husband and I, after having the house painted with kind of usual house paint, I was seeing cracks appearing about every 3 years and just wasn't very satisfied with that.
Rhino Shield's a ceramic coating specifically formulated for our unique climate.
I can't speak highly enough about the Rhino Shield crew. They also were great at working with me to get the exact right color because I was very particular.
Indy, you too can have the guaranteed protection of Rhino Shield right now for 15% off the regular price.
I would not hesitate to call Rhino Shield, and I am just thrilled to recommend Rhino Shield to my friends and neighbors and family.
Here's Rhino Shield's Shane Smith.
This offer is limited, so call me at 888-RHINO-41. That's 888-RHINO-41.
Don't paint.
Don't vinyl.
Go Rhino.
Paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
World-changing question. Are you keeping as much of your investment gains as possible? High taxes can erode returns quickly, so you need a tax-optimized portfolio. At Creative Planning, our money managers and specialists work together to make sure your portfolio and wealth are managed in a tax-efficient manner. It's what you keep that really matters. Why not give your wealth a second look? Book your free meeting today at creativeplanning.com. Creative Planning, a richer way to wealth.
So I'm going to have to do some bow harvesting tomorrow, I'm told.
Yeah, because we got a quick turnaround here. Meltdown Madness is coming to an end on the Hammer and Nigel show in the afternoon.
Hey, real quick, you're Jason Hammer, by the way.
That is correct. Thank
Hammer
you.
and Nigel show.
Thank you. We do the afternoon show, 3 to 7, Monday through Friday. Tell your friends.
We got a lot of new listeners because we're having the diversity debate coming up next hour. So.
Yes, which I'm excited to listen to.
Yeah.
But let's get to the current matchup of Meltdown Madness presented by Window Nation, where we've taken some high-profile rants and meltdowns, had a seeded bracket, and you, the listeners, vote for your favorite. Now, the winner of this matchup moves on to the national championship game this afternoon.
See, this is a really quick turnaround because our little engine that could, the Lasorda Bavacqua rant as a 10 seed powered by the Kendall and Casey show audience has made it to the finals. I thought I was going to have some time to get the Lasorda-ites and Bavacqua-ites fired up, but you're telling me no dice.
Are there any?
So, did you grow up?
I'm not going to let you disparage the good name of Kirk Bavacqua, Casey.
Okay.
Did you grow up in the state of Indiana?
I sure did.
Do you believe there should be a one-class basketball tournament?
Oh, absolutely.
So what would happen in the one-class basketball tournament years ago?
I see what you're saying. You got a morning game and then a
championship game in the night.
Same day, yeah.
We're keeping it real here.
Makes it harder to bow harvest, though, if we can't prepare.
It's too fair. So this is the current matchup, and I'm going to play you clips. We've heard these clips a million times, so I'm going to do something a little different. The first clip is Casey Kasem melting down on his weekly Top 40 radio program. So here to recite that Casey Kasem meltdown is AI Casey Daniels.
He was a little dog named Snuggles, but he was most certainly a part of Let's Go Start Again. See, when you come out of those up-tempo numbers, man, it's impossible to make those transitions. And then you got to go into somebody dying. You know, they do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for, but God damn it, if we can't come out of a slow record, I don't understand. Is Don on the phone? I want a goddamn concerted effort to come out of a record that isn't a fucking up-tempo record every time I do a goddamn death dedication. I want somebody to use his brain to not come out of a goddamn record that is that's up-tempo, and I got to talk about a fucking dog dying.
Oh, no.
AI Casey reading Casey Kasem.
So good.
Casey Kasem was much more angry than me. I sounded like, it's Don on the phone.
You really wanted to talk to Don, I think.
Don.
That's so good.
Not to be outdone, for the sake of being fair and balanced.
Yeah.
That clip is taking on the number one seed in our tournament, Bob Knight's iconic locker room meltdown rant. Here to recite that is AI Rob Kendall.
Nice.
If you're not going to recover Greg Graham, if you're just going to let him drive by you, if the rest of you are going to let him catch the ball outside the 3-second lane and drive all the way in here without one guy challenging him, then I'm leaving and you guys can run until you can't even suffer. Now, I'm tired of this shit. I'm sick and tired of a 8-10 record. I'm tired of losing to Purdue. I'm not here to around this week. Now, you may be, but I'm not.
AI Rob Kendall reciting AI Robert Montgomery Knight.
So far off from the hate mail that you received earlier.
And it sounded like the exact thing I said right before that Purdue IU came at Assembly Hall this year.
Wow. Fantastic.
That's so
Good
great.
work, Hammer.
So I believe we are ready to declare victory, right?
Oh, okay.
The elections desk has said that Bob Knight will win this matchup, and that means we've got a national championship game this afternoon.
Oh, boy.
Set your radio, set your alarm, 4:35. You've got Bob Knight, the number one seed, taking on Tommy Lasorda's rant against Kurt Bavacqua.
Wow, that's a heavy
Our
lift
little
for the
engine
Kendall
that
Casey
could. Yeah.
listeners.
We're going to have all the pomp and circumstance. We're going to have an invocation, the national anthem. There'll be the playing of Back Home Again in Indiana. We're going to do it big this afternoon for the championship.
What else is coming up?
Tony Kennett will join us coming up this afternoon. Dr. Laura Wilson from UIndy. And we're going to have a lot of fun, man. Nobody has more fun than we do.
Diversity debate is coming up next.
Let's
Thanks,
go!
Hammer. It's Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC.
Jefferson Shreve stepped up to fight when no one else would. He put it all on the line. And the liberals smeared him for it with ads like this.
Donald Trump and Jefferson Shreve. He's an original supporter of Donald Trump.
They attacked Shreve for being a conservative.
Jefferson Shreve, an A rating from the NRA.
Attacked him for being a loyal Republican.
Look who was there, Jefferson Shreve. He was proud to be on the Trump campaign and proud of his own A rating from the NRA.
All because Shreve would get tough, back the blue, and stop the crime. But we don't have to accept their lawlessness at our border, in our suburbs, in our state. Because Jefferson Shreve is running for Congress, and he's a fighter for law, order, and a secure border. Jefferson Shreve for Congress.
I'm Jefferson Shreve, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Shreve for Congress.
Let Bill Estes put you behind the wheel of the powerhouse brands that define American toughness. Ford, Chevy, Ram, and GMC.
Get 1.9% APR on 2024 GMC Sierra 1500s plus $3,250 purchase allowance and no payment for 90 days when you trade in an eligible vehicle.
Unleash the power of the road with Bill Estes Trucks. Find the location near you and see their inventory at BillEstesTrucks.com.
Trade allowance only on 5.3-liter EcoTech 3 V8 engine. Financing for well-qualified buyers through GM Financial. Length of contract limited. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 4/1/24. See dealer for details. Why is the $29 tune-up special from Broad Ripple Service Experts such a big deal? You save $100 and they could save your AC. Broad Ripple Service Experts can help restore your AC's reliability and extend its life, saving you up to 30% on energy bills and keeping your equipment warranty valid. And their service is 100% guaranteed. Broad Ripple Service Experts is all about making you feel right at home. Get total home comfort with their $29 tune-up. Call 866-EXPERTS today. License numbers HL11000009 and PC 199000028.
You can live out your MasterChef dreams when you find a professional on Angie to tackle your dream kitchen remodel. Connect with skilled professionals to get all your home projects done well. Inside to outside, repairs to renovations. Get started on the Angie app or visit Angie.com today. You can do this when you Angie that.
Tune in to the Absolute Retirement Planning Show.
When retirement comes about, we're now relying on what we have saved to meet those needs.
Sundays at 9 a.m. right here on 93 WIBC.
Indy's leader in patio installation is now offering a new driveway package. Schedule a free estimate today at IndyDecorativeConcrete.com. That's IndyDecorativeConcrete.com.
Coming up in 2 minutes, what the candidates have to say about managing your tax money, plus how much meth this trio of women are accused of smuggling into Indiana. I'm Kurt Darling. That and more coming up from the Technology Recyclers Studios after Fox News. You're listening to 93 WIBC, WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. It's 11 o'clock.
Searching for bodies and answers in Baltimore. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Divers still looking for the 6 construction workers who were on the bridge when it collapsed yesterday. They're now presumed dead. Maryland Governor Wes Moore tells Fox he's prayed with their families.
We are going to spend every effort to make sure that we can bring them a sense of closure in this horrific incident.
Federal investigators have the voyage recorder from the cargo ship that appears to have lost power before crashing into the bridge, taking it down.
We also have to prepare for the supply chain implications of this.
Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg tells Fox Baltimore's port, which is now closed, handles more vehicles than any other American port. There are new Trump Truth Social posts angry over the gag order imposed by the judge weeks before the start of his first criminal trial in New York. The former president just claimed he can't get a fair trial, calling the judge a Trump hater. Writing the judge's daughter, who works with radical liberals, can post pictures of her dream of putting him in jail, but he's not allowed to talk about attacks against him and the lunatics trying to destroy his life and prevent him from being elected again. How can this be allowed? That order was aimed at
barring Trump from speaking about witnesses, prosecutors, court staff, and jurors. Trump faces 34 charges of falsifying business records to conceal hush money payments made to adult film star Stormy Daniels.
Fox's C.B. Cotton. There's a hearing in L.A. today where President Biden's son Hunter will try to get the felony tax evasion case against him dismissed, claiming it's government misconduct.
That relates to the 2 IRS whistleblowers who told Congress they were shocked at the initial lack of charges against Hunter, that federal prosecutors agreed to a deal allowing Hunter to plead to misdemeanors over failing to pay taxes in 2017 and 18. Hunter's attorney said those whistleblowers revealed confidential tax return information, private texts, and attorney communication.
That's Fox's Jessica Rosenthal. We don't know who, but we know where the lucky Mega Millions winner bought the ticket worth $1.1 billion. Neptune, New Jersey. America's listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
How to tackle your tax money. Radar is clear. It's cloudy and 38 downtown. I'm Kurt Darling. Here's what's trending at 11:02. You might have heard Lieutenant Governor Suzanne Crouch's statements about eliminating the state's income tax. In a debate on Fox 59 Tuesday night, one of her opponents, Eric Doden, said that's a bad idea.
I think it's inappropriate for a governor to make a promise that they can't keep. Our income taxes cannot be axed. It'd be a 40% blow to the budget, $8 billion.
Crouch, Doden, Senator Mike Braun, as well as Brad Chambers all said something has to be done about skyrocketing property taxes. Counterfeiters here in Indy have been had. Tommy Lee Jackson Jr., Kenneth Johnson as well are said to have printed lots of fake $100 bills and then used them at various places around in the Indy metro. IMPD Lieutenant Shane Foley says they caught Johnson on Tuesday.
They were able to locate one individual who jumped out of the second floor of the motel and had counterfeit bills on his person.
Talking to Wish TV, Jackson is still on the loose. 112 pounds of meth. 3 women are accused of smuggling that through the Indy airport, and they're now facing federal charges. The trio were arrested back in December after state police were tipped off that they had been moving drugs into Indiana from California. Indiana is working to find out how much water it may need over the next 5 decades. Donnie Burgess explains.
Nearly 30 counties are a part of the North Central Indiana Water Study, which is exactly what it sounds like. The Indiana Financial Authority is putting together a report on the water needs, demands, and supply for counties across central Indiana to gauge what may be needed over the next 50 years. So whether that water is used for your bathtub or for a town's emergency supply, the Financial Authority should have a good idea of what's needed by the fall. Donnie Burgess, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
An 85-81 victory for the Indiana State Sycamores over Cincinnati on Tuesday. The win puts the Sycamores into the semifinal of the NIT, which is going to be at Hinkle Fieldhouse in Indy next week. I'm Kurt Darling, on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
You're listening to Rob Kendall.
When we talk about sending money somewhere, we're talking about printing the money because we have no money.
And Casey Daniels.
My government would never lie to me, would they?
On 93 WIBC.
Good morning. It is Wednesday, March 27th. It is 4 minutes after 11. You're listening to the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC. Well, it is debate day in Indiana, the race for governor. Welcome to the diversity debate between Rob Kendall and Jamie Rittenauer. May I call you Rob?
Absolutely.
May I call you Jamie?
Absolutely.
Okay, we had a coin toss prior to going on the air to determine who will speak first, and it was heads for Jamie, tails for Rob Kendall, and Rob won the coin toss. So, an opening statement. You have 2 minutes, Rob. You may begin.
Us versus them. Us versus them. That's what this debate is about, and that's what this election is about. It's not about Republican versus Democrat. It's not even about liberal versus conservative. It's about us versus them. Us being regular, hardworking Hoosiers, struggling to get by. Them being the elitist, donor, lobbyist, power structure, corporate giants. And over the past 7.5 years, that power structure, the donors, the lobbyists, the large corporations, have done very well in the state of Indiana. But they've done so on the backs of regular people who are being squeezed out. Indiana has reached a crisis point for many Hoosiers. Crisis of being able to afford to live in your home. Crisis of being able to afford to put gas in your car. And many of these policies have been a result of decisions made by the Indiana Republican Party. We have no one to blame but ourselves. And in order to fix this, we are going to need a fighter. Not just someone with good ideas, but someone that's willing to fight for those ideas and has a track record of success when taking on those battles. Think about how little your government cares about you. Overwhelmingly, the number one issue in the state of Indiana is property taxes, out of control, skyrocketing property taxes. And in the past 2 years, the Indiana General Assembly has done next to nothing. And thus far, the 6 candidates for governor, not one of them has put forward a concrete proposal to help all Hoosiers with property tax reform. You want someone who can get it done on property taxes? I'm your guy. As an elected official, I cut property taxes all 4 years, 18.5% over 4 years, including the largest municipal property tax reduction in the history of the state of Indiana.
All right, your time is up. Jamie?
Indiana, my name is Jamie Rittenauer. I'm running for governor here in your state. I say your state because that's important. Right now, you have people that are running that think it's just their state, and that's not helping. As a mom of 5, I have a 13, 11, 10, 8, and 4-year-old. And I can tell you as a mom of 5 that I would not vote for any of these other candidates. Why? Because as you saw last night, they do not care about we, the people. Right now, we are in a crisis in our nation. There are 3 things going on. The first one you may or may not understand. There is a spiritual battle taking place in this nation. Secondly, we are in a moral crisis. And lastly, we're having a very serious conversation about socialism and capitalism. And in the state of Indiana, where are we with that, by the way? I am here because I have spent 2.5 years on the ground with you. I'm not looking for endorsements from Michael Flynn. I'm looking at you. The reason why these other gubernatorial candidates will not work for you is because they're focused on themselves. They're trying to turn Indiana into another miniature version of themselves. We don't want to be like Mike. We are Indiana. And so I want you to listen. Listen to this next hour. Listen as I bring you Indiana goodness.
All right. Thank you, Jamie. Okay, we're going to get into the question portion of the debate. And we are going to start off with some of the top concerns from Hoosiers. Legislators and the governor put together a long-term road funding program in 2017, and that included a large gas tax increase. Those dollars are fluctuating, and future infrastructure is at stake. In 4 days, the state's gas tax climbs another 2 cents. We'll begin with you, Jamie. Where do you stand on this topic? Would you support a gas tax? And if so, how would Indiana pay for needs while ensuring Indiana's crossroads remain an asset?
So I don't support a gas tax increase. I don't think increasing taxes right now when inflation is so high is wise. The people of the state of Indiana are hurting. What we need to do is we need to reimagine what we already have in the state of Indiana. We need to stop expanding. We need to focus on rebuilding what's already here. Right now, everyone is focused on extending the state in manners that either take property from her people or only increase our spending by billions of dollars. This is not the answer. The answer is to rebuild what is already here. And I'm looking forward to telling you guys exactly what that will be and how that relates to our small towns and how that relates to education in our state.
I'm wondering if you could answer the question, how would Indiana pay for needs while ensuring the crossroads remain an asset?
So using the gas tax to pay for our needs is not the right answer because there's so many families that are going to be impacted by that. I am not a person that supports getting rid of the income tax right now. I think we need to keep it where it is. And then we've got to go in and we've got to audit and we've got to take all of this billions of dollars that we're, some of it which we're losing, $1 billion. And we've got to take what we're losing and what we're involved in from a fraud perspective. I mean, if we're just going to call it out what it is, if you lose $1 billion, we're going to say that that's fraud. There's something going on there, right? So what I'm saying is that my team is going to come in, we're going to audit the state, and we're going to look for all of the waste, and we're going to reallocate that money to the areas where there's need. But are we going to continue to tax the people? No, we're not going to continue doing that.
All right, Rob, the question is, would you support a gas tax cut? And if so, how would Indiana pay for needs while ensuring Indiana's crossroads remain an asset?
2 minutes?
2 minutes.
So everybody needs to understand that over the past 7 years, the state budget has grown by roughly $12 billion. That is an egregious amount of money for a state that is made up of 7 million people. Just throughout the course of this debate today, remember, a $12 billion budget increase for a state of 7 million people in 7 years. That's gross. $32 billion was the budget at the time in 2017 when Mike Braun voted for the largest tax increase in the history of the state of Indiana. Last night, Mike Braun doubled down on that increase and appeared to be so uninformed about that increase that he didn't even recognize it goes up every single year. The issue is not a revenue issue. It is a competency in government issue. Because every single year, more money comes into the biennial budget, yet every year, the task that we are asked as taxpayers increases. We've seen the state budget increase 37.5% over the past 7 years. Has your government gotten 37.5% better? I don't think any person would agree with that. Let's start where we could find $500 million that we could put to our roads, our bridges, our sidewalks. Every 2 years, the state of Indiana, in the most recent budget, will dedicate $500 million, $1/2 of $1 billion, to prop up some of the largest, richest, most wealthy corporations in the world. What would be a better use of your money, of $500 million of your money? Is it roads? Is it bridges? Is it sidewalks that everybody uses? Or putting sweetheart real estate deals together for corporations like Eli Lilly? We do all sorts of things that would make people puke if they found out we actually did them. Are you aware we use taxpayer money to study grapes at Purdue? How does that help you as a citizen? The issue is not revenue, it is allocation of revenue.
All right, thank you. We move on to another question that is on everyone's mind, and that is property tax. Rob, we're going to start with you. Property tax is administered by the Department of Local Government Finance. Indiana legislators have been toying with a significant state tax overhaul for more than a year, even assigning a task force to review the options and present ideas for the 2025 session. Senate Republicans have released the results from their constituent surveys, and property taxes are the clear favorite to cut. In 18 of the 19 surveys, property taxes were the obvious leader to cut. The question comes from Grace Noren on X. She says, I would like to propose you ask the candidates to explain their plan for property tax at the debate, and as this is a major issue across the state, I would love to hear their plan.
Well, Grace, thank you for that question. This is another example of it not being a revenue issue. It's being an ability to take on the system issue. Everybody needs to be very clear. In 2008, property tax caps were enacted because citizens said to local governments, our home is not your personal piggy bank. And since day one, and the Indiana General Assembly, there is no doubt they did this knowingly and maliciously, created an ability to get around the intent of the tax caps. They've done this in two ways. Taxes being based on assessments, which is not what you are monetizing. This is the only tax in the world where you're taxed not on something you're monetizing or using. It's based on something someone else does. They knew that when they did this. They also have allowed school corporations to subvert the will and the intent of the tax caps by being able to seek a referendum above and beyond the tax caps whenever they want. I am proposing an actual tax cap. And the only way to do this is to take the assessors and take the government out of the equation, which moves taxes from an annual thing, which is at the whim of an elected non-official agent, fiscal agent, which is the assessor, and move this to a cap that is instituted at the sale of a home. If you are a good and decent member of your community and you live in that house for 40 years, you are not punished for being a good and decent member of a community. The onus should be on the government to get its fiscal house in order, for school corporations who take 50% of most property taxes to get their house in order. The onus shouldn't be on us that forever the government has a lien on our property. The issue is, as it always is in most things, government not being accountable to the people and then crying foul, and in this case, being able to use kids as human shields when they don't get their way.
All right. Thank you. Jamie, the question was, you are asked to explain your plan for property tax, as this is a major issue across the state.
So as governor in the state of Indiana, what's important is that I get done what I tell you. So I'm going to show you the phasing in of property taxes. So what we'd like to do is start off with 65 and older, no property tax. We're going to do that because a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. Then we're going to look at a fixed rate for those that move in. So when you're moving into your home, you're in your home, you've got a fixed property tax rate. When you sell your home, then that rate can go up. Lastly, we're going to be proposing that we bring property taxes down to 0.11, which is Hawaii. Why am I doing it that way? Because I'm walking the legislature to what should be zero property tax in the state of Indiana. People say totally impossible. They freak out and say, how in the world are you going to get the schools to be able to function in that kind of a situation? Well, that's why I'm giving you a phase plan. Because while we're phasing it, I'm going to bring in the people on my team that work in fraud. Did you hear me correctly? I used to be a compliance manager. I was over a fraud department. I worked in fraud. I'm bringing in the people that are going to go through the budget. We are going to do an audit. We're going to get rid of departments like the IEDC. Yes, I did just say that. There is too much leaven, and a little bit of leaven leavens the whole lump. We cannot keep the IEDC. I will not put my name on that. Day one, that has to go. We are going to make the cuts that we need to make, and we're going to bring your property taxes down. Ask yourself a question. Do you actually think the other candidates will do that? They won't. I will do that for you.
Do you have the ability to respond?
Yeah.
What is it, 1 minute?
1 minute.
So I'd like to point out that's the most detailed property tax proposal that we have heard from any of the candidates thus far. And had we not done this today, you would not have heard that. This is why we're doing the things that we are doing, is to get actual, hard, firm plans to help people. And it took the radio station, WIBC, having a diversity debate because the two black candidates were kicked off the stage in order to get a firm proposal for property taxes. Why didn't any of the four last night offer what you just heard there? You've heard nothing other than vagaries and platitudes from these people other than her on the number one issue to a large majority of voters in the state of Indiana.
I do have a follow-up question, and we'll start with you, Rob. Last year, Marion County valuations were up an average 18.9% from the previous year. Small business property taxes were raised in some cases by nearly 30% last year. It's clear that Indiana's property tax system requires reform. Last year, credits and or rebates, whatever you want to call them, were sent out. Do you feel that that is pertinent again this year?
Well, we should get out of this system altogether. The government has nothing to do with me purchasing my home. That home is mine, and they have a forever lien on my property. The government has done nothing to help me with that home, and it is the only tax I can think of that is not based on the use of a service or a monetization. It is also based, and this is very important for people to understand, it is based on a non-fiscal agent deciding if your taxes go up or not. The county assessor. Your county council is your fiscal agent. They have nothing to do other than their own tax rate if your taxes go up or not. The entire system is broken. Tinkering around with the system and saying, well, this group, we'll start with them. That's not going to fix it. The entire system is flawed. The entire system is broken, which is why we have to get out of senior citizens or middle-class people or whoever from one year to the next not knowing what their taxes are going to be and not knowing if they can afford to stay in their house. I appreciate the sentiment that we've got to try to help people. But the only way to actually help people is to get the government out of the year-to-year property tax game done by a non-fiscal agent, which leads you to, at the point of sale, you know that's going to happen at the point of sale, and you factor that into the sale of the home. In the meantime, you can live in peace.
All right, thank you. Okay, we're going to move directions and discuss the IEDC. Two of the candidates have had connections with IEDC, including Brad Chambers, being the state's former Secretary of Commerce, and Eric Doden, previously serving as the president of the IEDC. They have contributed and distributed $1 billion statewide. Jamie, the question begins with, do you find that contribution has helped the state? And if you were governor, what do you think the role of the IEDC should be?
So there's no role for the IEDC. Like I said, a little leaven leavens the whole lump. You've got to get rid of it. What I love is whenever you hear these candidates on stage talking about how it was meant to be and how it's gone astray from what they meant it to be. Well, okay, that's code for we need to get rid of it. They just don't want to say it out loud, which should concern you. We need to function in our state with the kind of Hoosier mentality that people in their everyday lives do. When you go on a diet, it's not fun. Raise your hand whenever someone says, hey, we need to put you on a diet. Who goes around saying this is the best thing in my life? No, but you're more healthy because of it. I'm bringing to the table the reality that government has to stop the spending. That's the only answer, by the way. And so I'm going to help you bring your government back to size. My role in 4 years is to walk away from office, should it be my calling not to run another 4, and make sure that in your hands is your government. Power is safest in the United States of America in the hands of the people. And if the people will choose the Lord, our nation will see revival. That's how we do it. Notice there is not another candidate that is going to tell you they're getting rid of the IEDC. You need to be asking yourself a question. Why is that?
I do have a follow-up question for you, Jamie, regarding the IEDC, and then, Rob, you'll be able to answer. Should the government be taking an active role in attracting new business to the state?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So what we want to do as government is we want to facilitate an environment for capitalism to succeed. We don't want to put our foot in the door and start choosing winners and losers. The Republican Party has completely failed at this. They're actually changing the philosophy of the Republican Party, which is, by the way, why it's so hard to debate next to a libertarian, because people are so angry. Because when we vote for less government, lower taxes, and that's not what we're getting. And so you've got people like Brad that says that, he needs to be the CEO of the state of Indiana. No, let me rephrase. You need a COO, not a CEO. The CEO of the state of Indiana is we the people. It's not Brad. It's not Mike. It's not Eric. You're not the one that's here to run our families' lives. We are the people. What we need is a COO, a chief operating officer, someone that goes in and says, this is what the people want, and I'm here to make sure that they get what they put people in office to give. By the way, that's constitutional. It's the job of the governor to report to the people in the General Assembly. That's why every Tuesday with my office and my administration, we'll be having a press conference, local press in the front, national press in the back. We are going to keep you informed about what's taking place in your government. It sounds like this. It's truth, transparency, and engagement. You have to engage. Now is the time to get involved. It's Indiana goodness. That's what you're looking for.
Thank you, Jamie. All right, Rob, same question. The IEDC has distributed $1 billion statewide. Do you find that contribution has helped the state? And if you were governor, what do you think the role of the IEDC should be?
All right, so first of all, I'd like to point out, as confirmed to me by the state treasurer of Indiana, Daniel Elliott, I am indeed a Republican in good standing. And so I'm not a libertarian. I just point out how terrible Republican ideas are. But I am a Republican in good standing, and that's why they hate me so much. I have the audacity to tell people what's actually going on with the Republican Party.
Can I jab in there and just say I wasn't referring to Rob. I was referring to the libertarian when I was on stage. But okay, just making sure we're clear.
Very good. All right, so the question for the people would be, what have you gotten from the IEDC? Not what have they brought to the state of Indiana or Indiana government or the revenue from Indiana coffers. What have you gotten out of the IEDC and this $500 million budget investment through the biennial budget? Your property taxes have never been higher. Your gas tax has never been higher. The two most essential things to living for regular people are at an all-time burden on them. So if this was about bringing all of these things to our state because, oh my gosh, they're going to pay all these taxes, what have you gotten for it? The answer is you've gotten asked to contribute more. So if that is not working, and if it's not indeed about giveaways to some of the richest, most powerful corporations and people in the world, then why are we doing it? Again, wouldn't that $500 million be better used to offset property taxes or offset a gas tax? The issue with the IEDC is it is about helping the super connected and wealthy stay super connected and wealthy. It isn't about you. All it has done is dramatically change the Hoosier landscape. Beautiful farm fields are now bright, shiny objects, but those bright, shiny objects are not helping you. I would absolutely immediately slash all funding to the IEDC, and I would allocate those resources to helping with either property taxes or the gas tax.
I just had one thing to say about that, and I just want to make it really clear. Like, when we're talking about these projects, like the LEAP project, they're saying $2 billion to finish this pipeline. You need to understand that $2 billion, first of all, $1 billion, the $1 billion that Suzanne lost that she admitted to yesterday, $1 billion is about 10.8 per county in the state of Indiana. So take a moment to really think about that. If every single county in the state of Indiana lost $10.8 million at once, what would you be saying? So they lost $1 billion. Now think about this. They're saying $2 billion to complete the LEAP project. That's like $20 million per county in the state of Indiana. These are things that you need to know and understand. We cannot focus all of our money just in one spot. It is not about this one group of people. It's about the entire state of Indiana. That's what makes her special. Listen, Indiana, they're missing you. They're missing you. I've studied you for 2.5 years. I know what you look like. You're good people. You're a generational state. Indiana goodness, that's what you want.
Rob, should the government be taking an active role in attracting new business to the state?
Well, the government could take an active role and actually help everyone by putting good policies out that attract people naturally. If we had reasonable property taxes, if we had reasonable income taxes, if we did these things for everyone, then the things that are supposedly supposed to attract these companies would attract them anyway and help everyone else in the process. The government is in, or Indiana Republican Party is in the legalized vote buying business. And what they do is they take money from you, a poor middle-class person, and they take it and they give it to people who they think they need to do that in order to secure their vote. In this case, they do it and they take it and they give it to these wealthy corporations. And those wealthy corporations look at the donations of some of the people running for governor this year, give that back to them in the form of a donation. I'm not going to use words like money laundering, but wow, isn't that weird how that works?
All right, we've got one more question before we have to take a news break, and I would give you 1 minute each to answer this. Jamie, we're going to start with you. Can you point to which one of your opponents is using mere talking points and which rhetoric rings as most hollow to you?
Oh, my goodness. Do we only have a minute?
1 minute.
Okay, so let's start with this. First of all, I've been studying this for some time. I'm trying to figure out Curtis Hill. Curtis Hill's a lawyer. I figured it out. He's a lawyer. He memorizes facts. He relies on case precedent. And so when you hear Curtis Hill, he's not going to have any ideas about the future because that's not what lawyers do. I think it's unfortunate that he hasn't spent some time, because he's an intelligent person, coming up with ideas for the state of Indiana, but he has not done that. When you look at Eric, you've got to fix your commercial. You're saying that you're a Christian. This is a commercial that says you're the only one that's running on your faith. I'm calling you out. This is a Peter Paul moment. You need to take that line out of your commercial. That's not right. You also need to use that verse in perspective when you say, without vision, the people perish. Well, then what is the vision? You actually say right after that, local communities need to come up with their own vision. I'm bringing vision to the state of Indiana. I'm saying that you need Indiana goodness. I've got plans for your small towns. And then when we look at Suzanne, she just gave her administration a C and said that she lost $1 billion. I mean, we've got to fix that. And then I just want to say, Brad Chambers said after she gave her administration a C, that he gave her administration an A. He's got to go too. I mean, we've got to get rid of people that are about themselves, which counts out Mike Braun. That's all of their talking points, probably in a minute and 15.
Okay. Rob, same question. Can you point to which one of the opponents is using mere talking points and which rhetoric rings as most hollow to you?
Casey, I think everybody knows the four on stage yesterday were all highly fraudulent individuals. I mean, for their own reasons, and we could be here for an hour and still not get through all of them. But the one person I want to address is Curtis Hill, because Curtis, like Jamie, even though he had qualified to run for governor, was kicked off the debate stage. He was denied an opportunity. The two black candidates for a party that claims to be making a push for diversity and equity and inclusion, have a leadership series, were kicked off the debate stage. And Curtis claims to be a fighter, and he claims to be a guy that's outside the establishment and claims to be a guy that is not a part of the rank and file. We gave Curtis an opportunity to be here today, and in fact, we gave him 2 different dates that he could be here for this event. Both times we were told no. You have to ask yourself why. There's way more people that are going to watch and hear what we're doing here than what happened at that clown show last night. If you made it through the end of that thing last night, you should be able to write that off on your taxes as charitable giving. And yet Curtis is not here.
Can I get 30 seconds just to say this? I just want to address Anne Hathaway. When we talk about this issue in regards to race, I just want to be very clear about what's taken place here in Indiana. This is not an issue of people being racist. This is an issue of people not celebrating race. Anne Hathaway, you missed an opportunity for the state of Indiana to celebrate who she is. She is a good state. You could have easily highlighted all of us on the stage and been a shining star in the United States of America and said, look at the Republican Party in the state of Indiana, highlighted her for her goodness. You did not do that, and you need to be replaced for that. You should resign.
Okay, we've got to take a break. We're going to get you caught up on the news. The diversity debate will continue coming up with Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC. As a female gun owner, finding the right store can make all the difference. At Premier Arms, they understand that your journey to self-protection is personal and empowering. So whether you're a seasoned shooter or just starting out like me, they're there to guide you with respect and understanding. You can trust Premier Arms to take care of you without making you feel foolish or uninformed. I do. It's Casey Daniels. Consider Premier Arms. They're in Brownsburg, or you can find them online at premierarms.com. Call them at 317-858-3030.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Now looking for the bodies. I'm Kurt Darling. Here's what's trending at 11:30. The search starting back up again today for 6 people presumed dead after a cargo ship hit a bridge in Baltimore, causing it to collapse.
I can't imagine how painful today has been for these families, how painful these hours have been for these families.
Maryland Governor Wes Moore. The search was suspended yesterday due to darkness and treacherous currents in the busy harbor. Experts say maritime traffic through the port is also suspended. Talks over a ceasefire and a hostage deal between Israel and Hamas are at another stalemate, but they aren't over, at least that's according to CNN. A diplomat described them as stuck but ongoing. CIA Director Bill Burns presented a proposal that Israel accepted and sent to Hamas, but this morning, Hamas rejected that proposal. I'm Kurt Darling, on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the Relief Hotline at 800-888-5226. 800-888-5226. 800-888-5226.
Hey guys, it's Rob from my friends at the Bath Authority. The Bath Authority does it all. They provide the highest quality bathroom remodeling products along with a world-class customer experience. Walk-in tubs, replacement showers, tub-to-shower conversions, and more. You know, spring is sprung, and maybe you're saying, might be nice to upgrade that bathroom. Now is the time, because listen to this incredible deal going on with the Bath Authority. If you call today, 317-532-5711. 317-532-5711. Schedule a free in-home estimate. You're going to get $1,000 off a new shower bath. Yeah, that's right. All you got to do, 317-532-5711. Schedule a totally free in-home estimate. They're going to give you $1,000 off a new shower bath plus 36 months of interest-free financing. You can learn more about the Bath Authority at thebathauthority.com, thebathauthority.com, or call 317-532-5711. Tell them Rob sent you.
Your home is your sanctuary. Get the peace of mind you deserve with a free estimate on a Generac automatic standby generator for your home from Generator Supercenter, the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. With expert installation and 24-hour monitoring, Generator Supercenter won't leave you in the dark. Financing is available. Take control of your power today with Generator Supercenter. Call 317-827-0808. Generator Supercenter of Indianapolis, 317-827-0808.
Indy's leader in patio installation is now offering a new driveway package. Schedule a free estimate today at IndyDecorativeConcrete.com. That's IndyDecorativeConcrete.com.
You're listening to the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC.
Good morning. It is 11:35. It is the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC, and the diversity debate rolls on, featuring the stylings of Rob Kendall and also gubernatorial candidate Jamie Rittenhour. Okay, 2 minutes for this next question, Rob, and we'll begin with you. Medicaid faces a nearly $1 billion shortfall. How would you address the sustainability of Medicaid? And if cuts are needed, where would you apply them?
Okay, so never forget why this is now an issue. This is an issue because during COVID, Eric Holcomb and the Indiana Republican Party, with their silence, which was consent, entered into a mass legalized vote buying operation. And that was that they wanted to convince people that they could somehow shut society down, and there would not be immense ramifications for shutting society down. One of the ways they did that was irresponsibly and quite honestly fraudulently allowing able-bodied people who otherwise would have been working with health insurance to en masse, and I'm talking in the millions, go on government-funded insurance. And they did this solely to support Eric Holcomb's re-election campaign in 2020. And the Republican Party, the supermajorities in the House and Senate, as they were through the entire COVID operation, sat silently and did absolutely nothing. One of the candidates running for governor, Suzanne Crouch, had an immense opportunity to make a difference there. She said nothing. This is why there is now a shortfall, because of the highly irresponsible mass enrollment of people into a program that they knew, Holcomb, Crouch, and the Republican General Assembly knew was simply unsustainable. Now it's come time to pay the piper, and instead of kicking the people off who should never have been on it to begin with, they have reverted to doing something dastardly, deceitful, and quite frankly evil, going after the parents who care for, who have given up their lives to care for highly disabled kids. It is gross. It is immense mismanagement by Eric Holcomb. Suzanne Crouch, who was his right-hand person throughout all of this, claims to have no idea how it happened. And not one of those people on stage last night had the answer, which is bringing accountability back to government and no longer allowing able-bodied people who can work and are choosing not to be on Medicaid rolls.
All right, Jamie, the question is, how would you address the sustainability of Medicaid? If cuts are needed, where would you apply them?
Right. So if cuts are needed, really cuts are needed, right? That's the conversation that we're having right now. I want to start off by saying, COVID was a wake-up call. I've talked with people in the medical profession. I know that one of the things that they deal with as doctors is they have loyalty. They build with their clients, and then they are in these non-compete contracts that makes it very hard for them to leave these bigger hospitals. Indiana needs to come and give a law that will cover doctors in those positions. They need to do non-competes. They need to allow those to be completely rolled out in the state of Indiana. That is actually something that attorneys are allowed to have, which is kind of funny. So we need to have non-competes completely rolled out in the state of Indiana so that doctors are free to take their clients with them so that we can have a healthy competition in this area of healthcare. We do have to make cuts with Medicaid, but we don't want to do that with our most vulnerable people that are on Medicaid. So this is just a very common sense conversation, Hoosiers. We're going to go in, we're going to look at the numbers, and we're going to put a diet forward, and we're going to tell you exactly how we're going to do it. We'll do it by phase, but this is also federal, right? So we've got to understand that all of the stuff that we're talking about right now is really something that is not easy to do. You can't do it overnight because there's so many people that are involved in it. So we're going to assess the situation, and we're going to come forward with a plan. I want to tell you right now that it's not easy to do, and it's probably not going to be the first thing that we tackle. The first thing we're going to tackle is the IEDC, and then we're going to audit the other departments, and then we're going to get to Medicaid and Medicare. That's the truth.
Can I have an additional minute?
Sure.
I just think people need to realize that in this game of destruction with this Medicaid disaster, Eric Holcomb's like the final boss in all of this. This started long before him. This dates back to when Mike Pence gave into Obamacare a decade ago, didn't have the guts or honesty to say we're in the legalized vote buying business and are opting into Obamacare. So he misled the people of Indiana by calling this HIP 2.0. It was Medicaid. It was an expansion of Medicaid, which is an expansion of Obamacare. And so this has been going on for over a decade now with Republicans irresponsibly growing government and being in the legalized vote buying business that you are paying for.
All right, that leads us right into our next topic, which is many questions regarding health care. And Jamie, I will start with you. In a study completed by U.S. News and World Report, Indiana's overall ranking for health care was 43 out of 50 states. In February of this year, Indiana Capitol Chronicle said Indiana has a severe lack of nurses. How would you address this problem and try to attract more nurses to the state?
Right. This is a great question. So listen, because this is Indiana goodness. When we talk about our platforms. I don't really know, honestly, what the gubernatorial platforms are for everyone else. It's hard to pin that down. Everybody's typically floating the IEDC. But what I can tell you is our platform is education. My head of education, Paige Miller, she's 30 years experience in the classroom. She's got her master's in administration. She cares about every single student in the state of Indiana. What we are bringing to the table is that every senior in the state of Indiana will complete an apprenticeship before they graduate. People say we can't do it. They said it'd take 10 years. I talked to him at the State House. I'm a mom. It's going to take 4 years. Why? Because we already have people in the state of Indiana that are doing this. Listen, Indiana, we are a common sense state. We work hard. There are many people that see inflation. There are many people that are down, but they are still working. All we need to do is highlight that. So what we're going to do is cast vision. We're going to take out technology K through 5 and focus on the essential academics. We're going to get rid of CRT and SEL. We're going to bring in 6th grade people that adopt a classroom. You adopt a highway, adopt a classroom. We're going to have nurses that come in 6th grade and talk about AI, technology, innovation, how that's affecting their profession. And then freshmen are going to be asked this question, college, career, or calling. We're going to plant vision in the minds of our students so that by senior year, they're already moving their foot forward in these areas where we have need, like nursing, like pilots. There's many of them, trade. We're bringing it all back. That's Indiana goodness.
Rob, the question is, how would you address the problem of lack of nurses in the state of Indiana and try to attract more nurses to the state?
Well, there's a nursing shortage because we treated them like garbage. Don't forget, it wasn't all that long ago that we were firing nurses if they didn't get an experimental vaccine that is now proven completely ineffective in most cases, and in some cases has done immense damage to people. Never forget that Eric Holcomb and the Indiana Republican Party did absolutely nothing. I know. I spoke at a rally a couple of years ago in about 105-degree heat with a whole bunch of nurses. There was like one politician from the Indiana General Assembly who came to that, maybe two. The Indiana Republican Party knew nurses were being run out the door for making choices for their own health. So we trust you to make choices for other people, but we didn't trust them to make choices for themselves. We treat people like garbage. Our government treats people like garbage. Eric Holcomb and the Indiana Republican Party and our Republican legislators treat people like garbage. And then we look around and go, gee, I wonder why this is happening. Why wouldn't anybody want to be a part of this? It is a sense of entitlement, and it is disingenuous for these lawmakers to look around and act as though they have no idea why these problems, which they caused, are happening. So the number one thing that we can do as a governor is say, you make choices over your own body. You make choices over whether you get a vaccine or not. And nurses, we will salute you and we will commend you for making choices for yourself, just like we do everyone else. That toothpaste is out of the tube, Casey. Mm-hmm. And I don't know exactly how you put it back in, but it starts with telling people we value you and we trust you to make choices for yourself.
Well, and I can give the legislation just 30 seconds on here. I can give you a way to redeem yourselves, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to have your vaccine status be a protected class. I think it's a phenomenal idea. Dr. Stock came up with that. I mean, this is a place where government needs to step in. Isn't that just a radical statement? Because we live in a world where there's so much government overreach. So government's constantly going where it doesn't belong and not going where it does belong. Your vaccination status needs to be a protected class in the state of Indiana. I would put that pressure on the legislator, put a clock on the board so they can see they've got 90 days to make that happen.
Okay, we're going to shorten the answer time to 1 minute because I want to get to some more topics. But continuing on with healthcare, Rob, according to Forbes, Indiana ranked 10th worst state for healthcare due to high costs and poor outcomes. Hospital costs for Hoosiers are significantly higher compared to the U.S. average. How can you reverse the trend?
Well, we put people in charge of their own health. And I have someone very close to me who is a very well thought of nurse. And every time I see this person, they talk about the egregious decisions people make for their own personal health because they know someone else, Medicaid, is going to pick up the tab. And so we do not incentivize people to be responsible for themselves. If you are in the hospital and you've got heart condition, you should not be able to go out and smoke a cigarette. You should not be able to order biscuits and gravy. This comes back to the conversation we had earlier about enrolling all these people on the Medicaid rolls who were able to work but didn't work because Holcomb believed if I just give them free insurance, they won't understand the ramification of me shutting down society. The number one issue starts with stop rewarding people who are not responsible for themselves.
All right, Jamie, the question is, hospital costs for Hoosiers are significantly higher compared to the U.S. average. How can you reverse this trend?
Well, this is an area that is, it's very sick. Okay, so this is an area that's very sick. So we need to bring health to this area. How do we do that? I think that we need to go in and we need to encourage all of our doctors. That's why, and nurses, that's why this non-compete idea, getting rid of these contracts that are non-compete contracts in the state of Indiana is so vital because it allows for that healthy competition in this arena. When you bring competition to the table, look, that's capitalism. That's what we believe in our nation. And so really to make this area more healthy, we've got to start including everybody in the conversation and not allowing this to become hospital big business. That's not helping anybody.
Okay, another, real quick, can I just have just 30 seconds? Another issue we have to address in this state and across this country is the amount of resources illegal immigrants are taking up. We're not a border state, but people would be floored at the amount of resources here in Indiana in our medical facilities and the amount of cost that comes with it, which the hospitals are incentivized to do because they know the government will pay as long as they keep illegal immigrants in our facilities.
Next question, Jamie. Indiana is surrounded by 4 states that have legalized marijuana at one stage or another. Do you support legal marijuana?
I come from a generation that was always told marijuana was a gateway drug. I don't know when that comment stopped happening, but that's how we've always seen it. I've been up to Michigan. Look, can I just have a really serious conversation for just like 5 seconds? There is an oppression that comes with drugs. There really is, okay? It's real. Do we want to actually open this door for what is really being seen right now as a broken society? The family is broken. Kids are looking for a place to gain their identity. Do we want to open up this door to a broken society? No, we don't. We don't want to do that. There's so many other ways that we can focus our attention. No, I'm not for legalizing marijuana in the state of Indiana.
Rob, the question goes to you. Do you support legal marijuana?
Government is not my daddy. Mike Kendall is my daddy. And every single one of these people running for governor wants to be your daddy. They want to tell you what you can do and the choice you can make with your state licensed physician. There is a reason that we have an opioid crisis in this state, which we have, after over a decade, still not even begun to scratch the surface on dealing with. If you and your doctor want to make a choice together, it is none of my business, your business, Kevin's business, or anybody's business. There is zero reason people with PTSD, cancer, chronic pain and illness, if they and their doctor want to make that choice together, we have no business being in the doctor's office. Immediately, we have to legalize medical marijuana in this state so that people can make good choices, responsible choices as adults with their medical provider.
All right, thank you. So Indy Politics this morning just released this. They finished up a poll of Republican primary voters. They asked 500 GOP likely voters. One of their findings was that a solid majority supports leaving Indiana's ballot access law as is. And here is a question from the Kendall and Casey listener line. Jamie, the question goes to you first.
How are you going to make it easier for people in the future to get into our elections instead of the rat race that it is now? Thank you very much.
So ballot access is a problem in the state of Indiana. I should know. I just went through this process. And now that, check this out, I got on the ballot, and now that I got on the ballot, they don't want me on the debate stage. I mean, this is radical. It's an elite here in the state of Indiana. Look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to educate you on the process. We're going to tell you how you can go about it, and we're going to put some pressure on the Secretary of State. He needs to be involved in this conversation. I have no idea where Diego went. Knock, knock, who's there? It's the people of the state of Indiana. That's why we put you in office. We want you to weigh in on this conversation. We want you to tell us how we can all get on the ballot because we don't like who's already here. That's why we put you in office. And so, yes, I am the person that got in with zero, like when you compare it, it's, I mean, Rob calls it 8 cents, but when you compare it, you guys, it was $17,000. We worked our tails off. It's very difficult to do. I can go into the details for you, but this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to educate the state of Indiana on how you build a ground game, on how you get your name out there. That's what we need to do. We need to educate the public so that we can get on the ballot, so that we can make the change that's needed.
Rob, how would you make it easier for people to get on the ballot in the state of Indiana?
Well, this is pretty simple. The Republicans and Democrats have admitted in this state they are too inept to run elections without stealing your money from you. But they don't want you to be a part of the election that they steal your money for. So this issue is very simple on how we solve this. If the Republicans and Democrats are going to continue to admit that they're too inept to run elections without stealing public money, then anybody who wants to run in those elections they are forced to fund should be allowed to do so. 1 vote in a primary, 2 votes in a primary, 0 votes in a primary. The Republicans and Democrats could solve this tomorrow if they do it the way the Libertarians do it, which is they take no taxpayer dollars and they do their nominations through private convention. There is zero reason that someone should not be allowed to engage in an election that they are forced to fund.
Okay, we have not gotten to a lot of the topics that I had hoped to regarding the past, education, abortion, immigration, transgender issues, qualified
Can we just tell
immunity.
cats? Can we just tell cats? We'll take the 12.
I don't think he'll stand for that. So we've come to the portion where we need a closing statement from both of you. Rob, you went first in an opening statement, so you will go second in the closing statement. Jamie, you have 2 minutes to tell our listeners why they should consider you as governor for the state of Indiana.
Indiana, I'm about life. I'm not just about life from conception. I'm about your life, your entire life. I understand that there are many of us that have been conservatives all our life, like I've been. We've been voting for a party that was less government, lower taxes. We've been voting for a party that we thought was truly conservative, and then we end up with what we've got now. I am called to this role. This is not something I ever thought that I would do. My calling came over 7 years ago. It was when the Lord just whispered into my heart, you'll be the governor of the state of Indiana. I know you think it's crazy, but if you read Genesis to Revelation, Hebrews chapter 11 is all about ordinary people being called. I've come to the table willing to make the sacrifice. 1, because I love my God, and 2, because I love the people of the state of Indiana. You're beautiful people. What we need in this state is we need to look at her as who she is. We need to focus on her goodness. We need to connect her towns with the Indiana Goodness Train. That's something that we're bringing to the table. Let's get the Department of Transportation to work on something that's already established. Let's revive the rails. And let's connect our small towns and then bring in private investors, not government money, to revive the towns and bring Indiana goodness back. I want to do something in Gary, Indiana that no one's doing. We're looking at the airport. We've got big plans there because we want to see that city shine like a city on the hill. I am looking at every single part of Indiana, the southern corner of Indiana. LEAP 101 is in the southern corner. They're trying to take the property and land there. That is wrong. You've got to stop hurting the people of the state of Indiana. And then you've got a LEAP project where they still have $2 billion they want to pour in. That's $20 million per county. Do you really want this? You have an opportunity. And I want you to know something. I don't just want to win the primary. I want to win by a landslide. So you need to tell 12 people to vote for Jamie Rittenauer for governor. And then you need to tell them to tell their friends as well. It's time for Indiana goodness.
Thank you, Jamie Rittenauer. All right, Rob Kendall, what do you have to say for yourself?
Well, I'm going to take this in a little different direction because I'm not actually running for any public office. So I am going to close with, since it's half my show. First of all, saying you did phenomenal.
Oh, thank
you.
you.
Thank you so much for that.
Thank you,
Kevin did a
Casey.
great job. Jamie did great. This thing today was about proving a point. And the point was the hypocrisy of the Indiana Republican Party. The answers she gave today were infinitely better than any answer I heard last night. I thought the answers Curtis Hill would give would be infinitely better than the answers I heard last night. Sadly, Curtis was too big of a coward to show up. But she stepped up today. And it is ridiculous that the 2 black candidates for a party who acknowledges they have a problem with diversity, to the point they have a diversity series as a part of the state party, allowed them to be kicked off the debate stage. That thing last night was a total snooze fest, as everyone knew it was going to be. And the 2 moderately entertaining people weren't allowed to be a part of the process. You know way more about Jamie Rittenauer and what she plans to do than any of those other people. Whoever wins that election, unless it's probably her, is going to screw you over. They're not going to follow through. They're going to raise your taxes. They're going to grow the government. And I'm going to close with this. You have one option to be able to stop that unless it's her, and that is who you elect for lieutenant governor. The most important thing you are going to do this election season is not whoever wins that governor's race, but it's somebody in there to hold them accountable. Micah Beckwith is running on holding people accountable. If you actually care about checks and balances, if you actually care about making sure people follow through, it ain't going to be the General Assembly. It ain't going to be the next governor. It's going to be having one person in there with a bully pulpit. I'm not running for anything, but I am sick of this crap, and I'm sick of the behavior of the Republican Party, and I'm sick of being taxed to death, and I'm sick of incompetent, unaccountable government. And I hit the post.
Like a true professional. All right. Nice job, both of you. We appreciate you coming in today, Jamie.
Thank you,
and
Casey.
Best of luck to you. And Rob, thank you today. And Kevin, thank you. Tony Katz is up next. This has been the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC.
Did you know one of the best investments you can make? It's in yourself. At My Computer Career, in just a few months, you could start your new career in the high-demand, recession-resistant field of information technology. Isn't it time you invest in you and start a career in networking, cybersecurity, AI, or upskill to boost your current IT career? So, get the ROI you deserve at My Computer Career. No experience necessary. Start now at mycomputercareer.edu.
Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
You expect your home to protect everything